Debate, Uncut, and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out. First and foremost to my latest Patreon, Christophe Fournier, John Travolta, JMels24, my anonymous Patreon, Yuyanamento, M Iron 26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKinnon, Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fiber Oat, Bogey, Michael Kahn, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealand, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Gilded and G+, so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
We had a pretty good conversation after the show yesterday, after the Uncut and Live show ended. Some interesting stuff come out.
Yeah, I missed half of it because I got a phone call.
Can you tell me a bit more about it while I make coffee?
Yeah, oh, okay, yeah. Well, as it turns out, in the reference where Jaren is trying to say that water boils at different temperatures and if you use different containers, he didn't read all the way through his reference. He cited a cherry-picked portion where it discusses like induction from clay to metal and things like that. But it defines what boiling is in that citation, which Jaren did not. It also defines why it's 100 degrees Celsius is the boiling point. So in his citation that's supposedly debunking these things, it's actually reasserting them as fact.
So, John, do you think that he did it deliberately, or because I think they just read what they want to read, and that's it? They don't continue on.
I mean, I guess that's what he would have to have done, is just read that first part and went, aha! Because at the end of it, it goes, yeah, all the stuff we just discussed is how we come to the understanding of what boiling is and how 100 degrees Celsius is the boiling point.
Yep. Austin does the same thing. If you look up some of the people he references, you read the first couple of lines and that's what he's saying. So I don't think they ever read anything through. And I think they just speak without, they don't think it through either.
Well, no, I see that's the thing though. I think he stopped reading on purpose when he got to the end of the article. Let me see what I think. How are you going to read all the way up to the pretty much the climax of the article and just stop and be like, no, you know what, that last page, I'm just not going to bother with it because I'm sure it backs up my point.
Unless they're liars and they just read and hope that nobody looks it up and hope that they get away with it.
That's what he did when he was citing what science is, when he's doing his wiki scroll search.
Yeah, that's correct.
Well, thanks for filling us in.
Well, Adam can do a better job explaining it. Because he's the one that found it. He's the one that, like, at the time, you know how Adam is. He loves reading anything, you know. So he got down to the nitty gritty with it.
Did anybody watch QE's part 2 to that?
What's it? Part 2. I didn't get a chance. Is that his follow-on to Ballbusters?
That's correct.
Have you watched
You're
it?
gonna,
He asked
Yeah,
me
I
what I
watched the
thought,
whole
and
thing.
I had to be honest and say, like, I've only got to watch maybe the first 10 minutes of it before something distracted me. And I know it's several hours long. So I just haven't. I thought I'd stick it on in the car today on the way to a class with my eldest, and I just didn't think to do it because I was driving a car. But there we go.
it's well worth it when you do it. He's got some parts on there that if you're drinking something, you're gonna spit it out. Oh boy.
Anybody else get to catch QE's? I can't remember what he titled it. Anybody know what he titled it? Witsit something or other part 2.
Hey, I call it. It's with assessment part 2.
Witsit
Performance
assessment part 2.
Part 2.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Have you seen it, Brian?
I have. Yeah, I watched it that night. Yeah.
Oh, you saw it live?
Yeah.
Because it was on at about 2 a.m.
Well, I sleep and wake at all kinds of crazy times. So
So wait a second, Brian. You were up and you didn't come and look for me because I know he was asking people to get in touch with me so I could see it live, and nothing, nobody.
I put messages into the war room and into other Skype groups with at all QE is live now.
No, no,
I
no,
don't
no.
know.
That needs a phone call. 2 a.m.
Well, I
needs
did.
a phone call.
Yeah, but I didn't know if you were going to be working, Neil. You could be in bed and asleep at 10 o'clock at night, and I'm ringing you at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
You're not gonna yeah.
I'm only having a go at you.
I didn't want to do that.
Sounds like the same performance assessment you did on your computer, Nathan, but the CPU speeds.
CPU what?
Yeah, you just put it out about ASUS and its CPU clocking.
Oh, right. Yeah. I'll fill in anybody listening that hasn't seen that little video. So I was tearing my hair out trying to figure out why this new PC was throttling. Because on the temperature readout that Asus, the motherboard manufacturer, give you, it said that it was admittedly really hot, like 90 plus degrees C. But I'm like, okay, that shouldn't be throttling. It throttles at 100. And it's under 100, so why is it throttling? I couldn't figure it out. So I started to research a few forums. No, I didn't. That wasn't the order. What I actually did was downloaded hardware info, a different monitoring piece of software, and used that instead. And what I found was, instead of almost hitting 100, I was actually hitting 115. This is after I've gone to a load of effort, down volting it, down clocking it, reducing the power input, doing everything I can possibly do, you know, with 7 years under my belt of having a passive PC, which turned into a semi-passive PC over time. Right, this one didn't even start as a passive PC. It's active. It's got fans. They have to run. It's like it's about as far removed from what it was advertised as it could possibly be. But adding to the problem is the fact that Asus, according to the forum I read, have had a load of complaints that their PCs are running too hot, or their chip, this 12th gen chip, or any 12th gen chip, is running very, very hot. So, in their wisdom, they changed T-junction temperature from CPU packet temperature, and that's 10 degrees lower. So, well, there you go. It's 10 degrees lower now, isn't it? Happy days. You're like, no, it isn't. You've just changed the value. Moving the goalposts doesn't change the temperature in any way, but it just means that when people have a glance and go, oh, well, I have typically used that gauge to know how hot things are. It's a temperature gauge. Well, no, you can't use that gauge because they're lying, because they've had lots of complaints, so they've changed it. It just beggars belief.
Why is everybody lying?
It's like saying, I'll drown in 2 meters of water. Will you? So you go up to the sign that says 2 meters, you cross it out, and you put 1.5 meters on it. You go, there you go. Now you won't drown.
When I get money, I'm going to get you a Mac. That'll be the end of all those problems.
Why? Why would a Mac be
Because
not why would you buy me one? Why would a Mac be the end of the problems?
Because Macs are far superior to PCs. Don't care what anyone says. I used to have PCs, and I will never go near them again.
Okay.
Yeah,
I grew
used to
up
run
around.
a lot of software,
I grew up
A lot of
around all these
software
different
that was
computers.
very
though.
heavy on CPU, very heavy on CPU.
They use the same
and the Mac
CPUs.
can
I mean,
run it,
admittedly,
and the PCs won't.
they've gone over to ARM now, Apple. But previously, they just used the same exact processors. So that's not true. They were just the same. They're just different operating systems, normally running blisteringly hot. You say it'll solve the problem. Yeah, Mac ain't going to solve that. They're all for form. They ain't for cooling. They're for, it looks really pretty. But yeah, it'll run it. It'll probably be worse with less control over it. Macs are not silent.
No. The people who say that are the people who never own a Mac.
I've owned loads of Macs. My folks used to sell computers.
When
I
was
used
the last
I used
one
to
you owned?
live
When
and
was the last
breathe
one
in a
you owned?
computer shop. I know Macs.
When was the last one?
When was the last Mac I had? It's in the garage at the
Yeah.
moment. It was Snow Leopard.
How many years ago?
Whatever Snow Leopard operating system was. That was the last Mac I had.
Right. I don't know when that was then.
2011.
And GMC,
10 years.
GMC is better than Ford, by God.
Look, I've had a Mac. I've got plenty of Apple products. Apple do good portables. Their iPad is exceptional. It is better than a laptop. Because if you're using a laptop to do desktop stuff, then you need a desktop. And if you want your laptop to do desktop stuff because you have to have your laptop do desktop stuff, it won't do it very well and you'll moan about it all the time because it's a laptop. Whereas if you just say, it's a laptop, let's make it do laptop things really, really well, it does. So for instance, lots of people like to edit on their laptop. Well, editing's very powerful. Mac have got that pegged. They've figured it out to make it snappy and functional on an iPad. That's what you want, a portable device that can edit. Well, most laptop computers just run blisteringly hot as soon as you start editing and rendering with them.
If you haven't figured Nathan out by now, he wants something that is on, but gives the sound as if it's off.
He
I
wants
want it
the
to be
impossible.
Absolutely silent under all circumstances. So while I'm moaning to the guy who bought it going, it's making so much noise, it's because it's going... That's what it's doing.
I could just imagine you going to a store and saying that thing's making too much noise, and the guy says it's off.
Yeah, and I go, yeah, I can hear the power supply whining. That's what it was all about.
It is annoying though.
All I used to
And
do
then
is
make-
work with studios, and all they were interested in was the decibel level output of any particular device. Because if it's above the noise floor of the studio, you can hear it in the studio. That's the bottom line. Now, while I might seem uber fussy for a YouTuber, I am. This is all overkill. But that's what I learned. That's what I did at college. So it's like, how can you improve your YouTube? Do what you know first, right? So I'm doing what I know, and getting the noise floor really low in here just means that little things like a hard drive spinning annoy me because I can hear it. Most people can't hear their hard drive spinning up, especially when they've got super slow ones like I have, which are intentionally bought to be quiet. But there we go.
Yeah, but you should have solid state where you won't have all
I
that.
have. I've got 4 terabytes of solid state, and then I've got 6 terabyte backup, whatever you want to call them, archiving drives. Now, in the old computer, they never even run. They'd just be turned off. So you'd set them to turn off after a minute. I think I've figured that out now on this PC. I just went through a whole process yesterday. Every day there's another thing. It's a new computer. So every day there's another new thing that catches you out that you go, oh, God, I'm going to have to figure that out. One of them was the hard drive spinning up when they're not in use. And with Windows 11, there's all sorts of crap that Windows want from you from your drives. They want to know what's on them and what they're being used for and how they can best sell things to you in the future. So they randomly spin up your drives to have a look on them. Very annoying. So you have to spend an hour or two researching how to figure out how to turn them off and then trial and error with the actual processes, which is probably not from Windows 11, and figure out where the hell it is in Windows 11. And by the time you've actually done it, you go, okay, that's one more thing ticked off the list. At the moment, I'm sat next to this PC. It's running. We're recording. So we're using 2 GPUs. And technically, because the CPU split into 2 also, we're using 2 CPUs. No, we're not. We're using 1 because there's no game running. But in any event, there's a lot of equipment all running. And it's completely silent. There is 1 fan running because it must, to avoid having to do a stupid control command prompt, whatever it's called, to get that to stop saying fan error when you first turn the computer on. So to stop that, there is 1 fan running at 250 RPM, which is absolutely inaudible, buried inside the machine. But considering this is running the show, we're doing it. This is the show, right? Silence from the PC. That's what I want. I'm happy with that. It's only taken a month of fiddling on a PC bought specifically for a very high cost to be silent. But there we go. That's life, isn't it? I should have lowered my expectations when they said it would be silent. I should have known better. I should have known
One
Jet
day-
Engine would arrive.
One day, you're going to do whatever you have to do, and you could do no further. You're going to kick back, put your hands behind your head, and say, "Got it." You wake up the next day, and some mouse is in your wall building a nest, and you're going to go fiddle with your computer, thinking it's your computer.
Back in the day, at my folks' computer shop, I can't remember which computer it was, right? But from memory, it didn't have any fans. And what would happen is it would get blisteringly hot silently, and then it would start to show corruption. I'd love if someone could tell me which machine this was. Like I say, there was hundreds, if not thousands, of machines that went through their shop. But this particular machine, when you found out from the manufacturer how to fix this problem, what you'd do is you'd let the computer heat up, you'd see the corruption, and then what you would do is physically pick up the machine and drop it from about a foot. And what this would do is reseat the CPU when it was blisteringly hot back in its own socket. But that sort of sacrifice is the kind of thing I like for silence.
That
I
explains
don't
why
know.
you're. Hey, Brian, that explains why he has computer problems. He picks it up and drops it.
That's what you had to do. That was the
Well,
solution to the problem. It reseated the chip. I'm not even joking. I'm not making this up.
I don't know how you have solid state hard drive running up. They're not. They don't do that. They don't have all those moving parts.
No. There's 6 drives in the machine, Brian. 4 of them have 5200, very low RPM, in other words, what they called NAS drives. So they're specifically designed to run all day and at a low RPM. Those get turned off when not in use. So what's on them is all of the archived Flat Earth debates and all of my movies. So when I'm not watching a movie, obviously it doesn't need to be spinning, so it's turned off. And now I've achieved that. The other 2 drives, one being the main PCIe 4 NVMe, and the other one being another PCIe 4 NVMe that is for the show. So the second PCIe NVMe, if I can get my mouth around it, is where the show goes. And then the first is where the operating system is. So there's 2 solid state drives. So you're right, it shouldn't make a single sound. But
So wait a
Microsoft want
second.
my
Did
data.
you say that? Did you say that they would drop the computer to silence them?
No, to stop the corruption. So after a certain amount of time, the chips would start to become loose in the board. And the solution to solve that was to pick up the machine and drop it while it was hot so that it would reseat the chip.
So I have an idea. So you're telling me all we got to do is pick up these idiots and drop them on their head?
If you consider people to be anthropomorphized into PCs that need their CPU chips reseating, then yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Not
That's why they
normally,
call it rebooting your computer. Kick it.
don't normally get to use the word anthropomorphization this early in the day. Thank you, Neil.
Oh, really? A rebooting? Kick it? That didn't get a.
I was more
Nobody got a
interested.
kick out of it, ain't.
I was more interested in Neil's humanizing the computer into a
Well,
person that needs dropping on their head.
They're running hot right now. So talking a lot of nonsense. So if we like drop them on their head,
I just
work.
wanted to kickstart a conversation.
listen, the rule is silence. Because we got it, but nobody say, I got it.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit put off when you don't recognize my high-level puns here.
I do
Nathan,
recognise
lately.
them. I recognise all of them. Nothing slips past me.
Yeah, right.
Slips. Nice.
See, the thing is, you don't get Nathan's.
Anyway, it's interesting seeing our fellow flat earthers behave like ballers at the moment, if you ask me, without mentioning any names. Jaron Campanella, Bob Nodell, all of Globebusters.
You need to specify that. When you say behave like ballers, you're not saying they're changing their mind on what the earth is, but their tactics, right?
I'm saying that they're cherry picking their information. I was just going off what John went through while I was making a cup of coffee, which I picked up 60% of because of all the noise.
Listen, it's not only that, they're restating how debate should be done, you know, when they do a little debate once every year, and they say how great it was. And see, this is how you do a debate. Everybody was respectful to each other, not like some people.
No, I mean, let's hone down on what you're actually saying. You're saying they're getting away from the criterias that make something pure and right, and allowing a lesser criteria to run the day, where they do the same thing as the ballers, something to that effect, right?
Well, they're just
They
cherry
don't
picking.
fit-
It's just using fallacy to sustain your own viewpoint. It's just standard baller-esque behaviour, I would have said, using that type of fallacy, would you not?
Yeah, but it's not even that they're even cherry picking. They're literally just not doing their research. They're not understanding.
Come
They're
on.
not doing their research.
That bit I did hear
That-
from John. He said you don't get to the last page and go, oh, all right, well, everything else confirms what I'm about to say, but this bit I'm just not going to read. I don't think so. I mean, I'm going purely on what John has just said. Anyway, let's start the live show. Flat Earth Debate live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Arwin, Brian's Logic, Neil, Refracted Curvature, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Gilded, so welcome one and all.
How freaking time,
Hello.
jeez.
Good morning, everybody.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having us.
Someone
It's-
put a
it's a
collar
pleasure.
on Neil. Hold him back.
So in the pre-show I was informed of the ongoing saga, started initially first stone thrown, I might add, by Jaron at us for claiming that science proves your outcome when adhering to the methodology of science. And that particular statement has gone on for now a good month, I would say, in terms of its usefulness as a tool to teach our audiences. I believe it's been extremely successful based on the comments alone, which I've managed to read all the way through my holiday over the last week, which was great. Lots and lots of people who are seemingly very intelligent, spotting precisely what the actual dealio here is, which is that we have a confirmation of a non-existent background medium called ether, backed by science, in quotes. And when, like with the ballers back in 2017, they were asked, well, what is your science? What science do you actually have for your claim? Well, science doesn't prove anything. Why would you be asking me for science when I've said I've got science and experimentation? It doesn't really prove anything, so why are you asking? That's really the dealio that we're having to deal with here. Now, the fact that it's continued for this long Fine, no problem. The fact that people like Flatsoid are still engaged with people like Jaren, who are seemingly garnishing an ever-increasing list of enemies, fine, fine, because it disseminates the information that we are all about and have been for the last 4 years, if not longer, which is that science has been used against us. It's been used to claim we're on a ball. The whole body of science proved we're on a ball back in 2016, until we started asking for science. Well, let's have a look at it then. Oh, what a shock, they didn't have any. And here we are with flat earthers doing the exact same thing, pulling the exact same magic trick on our own brethren in flat earth. So, wonderful. So, if possible, I'm hoping John will regale us with a particular baller-esque instance which has kept this little flame alight. You there, John?
Yeah, I'm here.
In your own time.
Well, I think Adam would probably be the best one for telling this. He's the one that discovered it.
Fair enough. We'll do a bit of housekeeping then. Hopefully Adam will join at some point, although he does actually have a job. So we might not. We'll see. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth.
What makes you think it's a horizon? Do they say the horizon is the curve of the Earth?
Yes, they do. They say it's measured in the Earth curve maths as the horizon being the tangent point between you and what you're observing being blocked by that physical Earth curve. They say is the horizon. Indeed.
Yeah, but that's in the Earth curve math.
Yes.
Right? Isn't that just like, yeah, it's that, but it's actually in the Earth curve map, not the actual horizon.
Let me just clear this up because Arwen's just immediately irritated me. He's asking, are they saying the horizon is Earth curve? And Arwen's response is, no. It's only saying it's Earth curve in Earth curve maths. You can't get much more, to the point and concise in that regard then. It's definitely claimed to be Earth curve then.
Yeah, because they had boats going over it.
No, they have Earth curve math. They just don't have Earth curve.
Yes, that's
So if
more
they're
like
talking
it. Far
about
less
the
irritating.
Earth curve in the Earth curve math. That there might be Earth curve in the Earth curve math, but not in the Earth.
And the stress of Arwen, caused by Arwen, washed away by Arwen. Thank you, Arwen.
You're
But
welcome.
wait a second, they still use the claim that boats go over the horizon, though.
In
I
the
just
Earth
heard it
curve
the other
maths.
day.
Pay attention to Arwen. Sometimes. 50% of the time. When he's not Baldwin.
I heard what he said.
Right, it's only Earth curve in the Earth curve maths. The horizon is not Earth curve.
Yeah, and the refraction that they try and claim is the reason why the horizon is not our curve. The refraction that they try and claim is the reason why that's not our curve. It's not refraction either.
Yeah, it's called refraction. It's called refraction in the Earth curve maths, but it's not refraction.
But it's
you're right.
not refraction in reality. What it actually is, though, but it doesn't matter what it's called in the Earth curve maths. What it is an extension of a radius value, a physical extension of a geometric radius value.
Right.
That they don't have any measurement for.
Right there in the value. So terrestrial refraction, otherwise known as atmospheric refraction, is 7/6 of the radius. It is very much specifically a mathematical derivation of the presupposed Earth radius value. Any evidence of Earth radius, that's the R value.
Hang on. What is the rush?
Because it's
Okay,
quick fire, it's housekeeping. Quick dust around,
I'm
quick
trying
vacuum.
Refraction in celestial navigation has to do with air, not 7/6R.
That's what Brian's saying.
Density of air.
Yeah, that's what Brian's saying. He's saying refraction, when we talk about Earth curve and they refract the horizon, is also not refraction. On screen now with Simon Dan's joyous face as the example. They've got a tangent point. This is Earth curve. Yeah, formerly known as Earth curve, hence the housekeeping question, because now they're saying it's a refracted, bent line based on the radius. Standard form refraction 7/6 of that radius that we'll get to in a second in the housekeeping. But that isn't what we see. This is just a bent line in orthographic view in mathematics. Real refraction that 10th Man just detailed, used in celestial navigation, what, light deviating from straight when we see light? Yeah, that's refraction. It's just not this. This is a bent line in orthographic view. Light doesn't reach the side of your own head in reality because you aren't seeing the side of your own head.
But what they're showing there is not 7/6R either. 7/6R is it's not like their eye bending down over over their globe. It's their globe actually extending in size in front of your eyes.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah.
What?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's
It's a
706
hologram. It's a giant up projected over the curve hologram.
No,
Remember?
well, no. What Brian's saying is 7/6R does not give you the pictorial example on screen where you have a sphere Earth, admittedly now Simon Dan's head, and a second line of sight when it isn't. It's an orthographic view that curves around the first. 7/6R is merely them flattening out Earth's curvature at the radius level. That's what it actually is. Brian's absolutely correct. It's just flattening it out a bit, right, Brian?
Yeah, make it all much bigger so it all looks flat. That's
So
what they're doing.
to account for it looking flat, well, yeah, it's 7/6 of the radius. What we see when you're claiming in the maths that we've got a tangent point with a straight line, well, then you bend the radius value at 7/6 of it. You don't actually have a bent line. Like I say, this isn't reality. It's an orthographic view. So what do they actually do? They just increase the size of Earth to flatten it out a bit to account for when it looks flat. But even then, that isn't what you see. You don't see the side of your own head. Any evidence the R value? Go on, Brian.
I was going
John.
to say sea level, all this stuff that y'all are talking about takes place below sea level in their mathematics.
That's correct. Yeah, that's
I like
also in the
way
maths,
that
isn't it, John? That's also in the
I
maths. If you go and look at their Earth curve maths, they've got the horizontal plane and the horizontal line of sight both depicted in the maths. It's necessity. The maths is derived from a flat plane, so it's very much in there in the maths in Mick West's diagram. It has to be. Oh, here it is. Check it out. Marked bold, black, surface level. What's that? Eye level and surface level? What are these two horizontals doing in there? Why are they in the middle of space? And why is it called surface level? Yeah, it's right there hidden in plain sight, ladies and gentlemen. Earth's flat, and it has to be measured that way to derive your sphere mathematics. That's why you've got eye level and surface level parallel in this maths.
And they're going to calculate the dip between those two parallels and call it our curve.
Exactly, Brian. Oh, what fun it is to be back. Any evidence of the R value?
No.
I still wanted to make a little comment that I couldn't get through because you guys are so enthusiastic, but I really like the way 10th Man divided the R refraction from the air refraction. Air refraction and R refraction. They sound very similar, but yet they're so different. One exists, the other doesn't.
The only problem with that
Well,
is
the one,
our refraction
is-
sounds like our refraction if you've got a bit of a Brummie accent.
Burmese aside, the celestial is based on the air temperature in the barometer. And in their version, it's 7/6R.
Indeed. Obviously, we're not going to get an R value, so any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No, I said there was no evidence. When you said there's no evidence of the R value, I said no.
I was going to ask you for all of that. You're still going to ask for an R value? I guess you have to.
We're like
The
on a
stars,
delay. This is getting me very, very tetchy. Let's try and stick to the housekeeping question currently on the table, because then we'll get through them within the first 10 minutes. And hopefully Adam will join if he's listening out. If not, John, can you regale us with the story from earlier?
What happened with axial rotation?
That's what I'm getting.
Started moving.
I'm going to move it
Right.
on one, and then hopefully that will bring things back in line to the present with the actual question if I move it on one. Rather
Alright,
than
so
The
that-
question displaced because of Coriolis deviation.
what
so the
Coriolis deviation
stars-
would that be? Hold on, that's a claim. What Coriolis deviation?
The housekeeping question. It rotated away because of Coriolis deviation.
Where's my
Not
tumbleweed?
the actual Earth.
I
Okay,
say
anyway.
the star movement is evidence of axial rotation.
What? No, I didn't say that.
I
Hold on,
say
that's
that.
another
Talking
claim.
about the arguments Coriolis
We've actually got the
deviation.
argument from Neil now. Finally. Sorry, do you want to repeat that, Neil?
I say star rotation is proof of axial rotation. Prove me wrong.
So that's the second reference frame. So Earth would be a non-inertial turning reference frame moving underneath the stars at 15 degrees an hour. So you're conceding that Earth is moving 1,000 miles an hour at the equator with you on it as a non-inertial turning reference frame then? Yes.
I didn't say that.
But that's what it means. If you're saying that the stars aren't actually turning as we see them appear to turn, it's because we are turning beneath them that they have that apparent motion, then that would ipso facto mean that we are, by your claim, on a non-inertial turning reference frame moving underneath the stars to cause their apparent deflection in the inertial reference frame. Ergo, your claim is one of Coriolis effect, something that Arwin joked about but didn't specifically make the claim. If you say star rotation proves we're spinning, you're saying star rotation, i.e. the stars don't move, we move beneath. Correct? Yes.
Yes.
All
That would
right.
shorten-
So
That would shorten flight times. If we are on a non-inertial turning reference frame of turning at 15 degrees an hour, then a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles would only take an hour and a half as Earth turned underneath the plane. Also, the stars would stop. So as soon as you left the non-inertial turning reference frame of a claim to be spinning Earth, they would stop moving. The stars.
Well, what if the Earth was the thing that's actually standing still and the entire universe is spinning around us?
Or then that undoes the heliocentric claim that Neil's making, Arwin. Thank you for the
Then we
contrapositive,
become
which is what we
geocentric.
observably see.
Maybe it's just a matter of perspective then.
Arwin,
It is until you claim it's a non-inertial turning reference frame that's causing the motion, i.e. Earth's turning and the stars are not. Then you've got an Earth that's turning underneath things as a non-inertial turning reference frame, like a roundabout. You look at the tree that's not moving, and as you turn on the roundabout, the tree looks like it takes a circular motion as you look up at it. Well, that's what's claimed to be happening according to Neil in the stars. The stars don't move and Earth turns beneath. Well, if Earth turns beneath the stars and bullets and footballs, because that's Coriolis effect, then it turns beneath aeroplanes and shortens their flight times.
Yeah, but what if you actually stand still on the middle of a pillar surrounded by a giant centrifuge? Then the entire universe is spinning around you, while if you close your eyes, you don't feel any motion because you're standing still. Well, maybe that's what's happening. Maybe the
stand
entire
still.
Can't stand
universe
still.
is
It's
spinning
spinning
around
Correct,
us.
you're still
do
rotating.
that.
Even if you're at the centre, you'd still be rotating.
No, on a separate pillar, right? That doesn't rotate with the whole thing.
That's fascinating. Sorry, are you making this as a claim, defending it as a current Western world religious viewpoint like heliocentrism, or is this just spitballing some idea of having a mechanical object with a pillar in the middle and a centrifuge on the outside, which is preposterous?
Not yet, but it might become in the near future.
Oh, joy.
someday science will prove it, but right now we can't.
How do you get a
Well,
non-inertial turning reference?
Go on, John.
How do you have a non-inertial turning reference frame without a measurable radius value?
You don't. Prerequisite. If it's going to be turning, it's going to have a radius value.
Yeah, but there's people on our side who are currently claiming that they have a spiritual belief that exists outside of our 3D reality, and the proof of it is things like Foucault pendulums.
What? Foucault
Yeah.
pendulum? What?
Yeah, that's a proof of ether. Foucault
What?
pendulum.
That's
Foucault
correct.
pendulum
What's
is a
it said
proof of
it-
ether. Okay, so essentially,
They're all saying it. Sorry.
it's a pendulum. So they're saying that the pendulums drift, and the reason pendulums drift is because ether causes pendulums
Ether.
to drift. Is that correct?
That's 100% correct. That's literally
Okay.
what's being claimed.
Let's just break this down for a second then. What's a pendulum?
A plumb bob.
And a plumb bob that's swinging. What's the inherent property of a pendulum in its motion?
Forward and back.
So, to be blunt, pendulums do not drift.
In space.
No.
Okay. So what we are being told
But-
by ether believers is that pendulums do drift because of ether, correct?
Because
Yeah.
space is drifting. Yeah, space
Yes,
is
that's
drifting.
correct. That's what they're saying.
Unless they're too heavy, then they don't. That's what I was
Oh,
told.
oh my God. Let me get this straight. We were already, before we've even clarified this claim, umming and ahhing about whether or not pendulums do or do not drift. And whether or not it's caused by something like space drifting. Okay, let's get it straight from the offset. Pendulums and gyros do not drift. The inherent principle of a pendulum is that it moves back and forth, and not side to side figure of eight. Pendulums do not do that. So to say, because pendulums drift, pendulums don't drift. Okay, we all
No,
clear?
it's only an apparent drift. It's only an apparent drift, Nathan. The space itself is drifting, so the pendulum, in essence, is just swinging back and forth.
So this non-phenomena of a pendulum not drifting is having the explanation for its drift, when it isn't drifting, being something else drifting, like the stars. Correct?
Well,
Sure,
not
yeah.
exactly. Well,
But pendulums
no.
aren't drifting.
Yeah, but the non-drifting pendulum is proof of a spiritual belief that a group of people hold.
Who's making this claim? I want to rip them a new one for their complete idiocy. They're explaining ether with the drift of a pendulum. Pendulums don't
Everybody
drift.
on the other side. You asked
Pendulums
who?
don't drift.
All
You
of them.
said them earlier.
Sorry, are they actually doing this? Is just let's
Yeah,
have some
if you
names.
watch-
Let's
if you
hear
wa-
who's
if you wa-
saying that
Yeah,
the
if you
ether
watch-
is
I'm
explaining
trying to tell
the
you.
drift pendulums don't experience.
If you watch my time over on Witsit's channel, that's one of towards the end of it. He claimed Foucault's pendulums as proof of ether.
Foucault's pendulum. So a special pendulum. Foucault's pendulum doesn't drift either. I can show you plenty of examples of people letting off a Foucault pendulum in a shopping mall and it not doing what it needs to do to make its example, which is drift. It just behaves like let me think, what's the word? A pendulum. In other words, it doesn't drift.
Well,
Now, if you let it go at a very specific angle, or you have a mechanism to make it drift, then it'll drift. But without either forcing it to drift temporarily, because eventually it'll find its center and just go back and forth. That's what pendulums do. You know what
Well,
grandfather used to be? My grandfather used to be a clockmaker. He used to have a lathe with drill bits for watches that were the size of a human hair. They were the tiniest drill bits you've ever seen. And he used to sit there with his monocle fixing people's watches, expensive watches. And, as a bit of a hobby, he used to muck around with clocks, big clocks, because they were fun. Cuckoo clocks and, clocks. But they were always chiming and ringing. And you know what they all had? Pendulums. Now, did they all stop because the fucking ether started making them drift? No, of course not. They eventually run out of steam and stop. That's about it. But a pendulum in its motion is specific. It's not drifting. Why are we having proof of ether come from the drifting pendulums that they don't have? This is so absurd. Are they just taking the piss out of their audience?
Well, we
Well,
got a bunch of cuckoos there.
I had now a punching bag is basically a pendulum, yeah. Like so is a hanging flower basket. They hang down. It's a weight that's hanging from a center point, right? That can move when it's touched, right? I didn't want to have it because there's something wrong with the chain and I couldn't take it down. So during my whole time on Witsit's channel, over my left shoulder, there was this boxing bag hanging. And I pieced out, after correcting them about the Foucault pendulum and about how they actually, what they all the nonsense claims to go along with them, and I corrected him about stuff I don't think he was aware of. I said to him, there's a boxing bag over my shoulder there for the whole time that we've been here, and it hasn't moved at all. And he told me, but that's too heavy. I don't think he's ever seen a Foucault pendulum.
I just think this is ludicrous. I mean, at this point, you've got to wonder, what is the motivation behind this complete nonsense?
Oh, now you're wondering why? You just don't know what the motivation is? Oh,
I
boy.
wish I hadn't said what I just said. Let's move on. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No, hang on, Nathan, what is the initial claim of the Foucault pendulum? What were they trying to prove with it? Initial claim.
What's the inertial plane? I don't know. It's not my claim.
Initial.
What's the initial claim?
Claim.
Gosh, it's a simple question. The ballers, when they cite the Foucault pendulum, what are they trying to prove?
Rotation.
Earth's turn.
Yeah, axial rotation.
Okay. So now someone else is citing it for ether? Is ether
I
axial
don't know the claim.
rotation?
It's not my claim. I don't know what you want me to say.
No, I'm trying to see what's going on here. So if before what's it and those people said the Foucault pendulum proves the ether, okay, what was it used for? Axial rotation. Is ether synonymous with axial rotation?
No.
Yes.
They just hold on. They just hijack some of the affirming the consequent fallacies that they utilize.
So the Foucault pendulum could be used for anything if I'm going to be fallacious with it.
Why is it a specific pendulum? If this effect is true, why do you have to have a specific man's pendulum? When in reality, we all know that pendulum doesn't behave like a pendulum unless you make it behave in a certain way. And if you don't make it behave that way, it just behaves like a pendulum. Now, I've got a few pendulums on screen. Let's just get this squared away before we move on for explanations for things that aren't happening. Where is the example of a drifting pendulum?
Well, the doesn't pendulums unless they're made to move, they don't do it. Either by human beings, wind, something. They just are not going to do it. They just hang straight down like a plumb bob. Do you know what I mean? That's what they do.
I mean,
You can
Adam's
make a
here now,
plumb bob swing as well.
Okay, Adam, how you doing?
Afternoon, guys.
Hello. John gave us a rendition of some research that he'd done earlier into a paper that had been cherry-picked from. We'll rattle our way through the last few housekeeping questions. I'm hoping you'll regale us. If you don't know what I'm talking about, John will jog your memory. I'm sure you do.
I do roughly. I'm literally on my way home. So give me 10, 15 minutes and I promise QE to keep it succinct for this evening.
Oh,
I've not
right.
wrote it
You've
yet.
been given instructions, have you? God damn, tell him to sod off.
I view it more as a request that I may or may not fulfill. But yeah, give me 10, 15 minutes. I should be home and then I'll give you an update on where we're at with it.
And by tell him to sod off, I mean all hail QE, much respect, and he taught me basically everything I know, so I should have a bit more respect. But there we go. Anyway, any scientific evidence of gravity?
Well, wouldn't Newton's laws of motion, even though they are not applicable supposedly now, wouldn't they have gotten in the way of a claim of a Foucault pendulum? Sorry, never mind that.
Yes. Yes, they would have.
But they weren't right, so who cares?
Yeah, but they take place on an inertial plane, not inertial turning reference frame.
Sorry, it's just when Nathan, there's no evidence for gravity. Sorry about that.
Right, any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No, they have all the DVs, all the effects, all the natural effects, but they can't manipulate their IVs. Because their IVs are outside their purview of control.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Well, if you claim P waves and S waves, you'll need a flat plane for the return signals.
Bit like you'll need a flat
So
plane to claim the differential between those lines of sight that you can draw out in orthographic view and what was it called in McWest's diagram? Surface level. Yeah, you'll need a flat plane for that too. Isn't it interesting how many things turn out to need a flat plane? It's because Earth's flat, ladies and gentlemen.
John, why would you need a flat plane for P wave and S waves when the signal hits and it bounces back?
Well, you're measuring the return angle of the wave, right? For the signal. So you'll need a baseline to measure that against.
So if it hits a curved surface, is that what you're trying to say? It would be different, or what are you
Can't get
saying?
an angle.
No. You can't get an angle from it if it's a curved surface.
Right, that's my whole point.
But you'll need a flat Earth for that claim. If you're going to say P waves and S waves, we'll start laughing at you more than we used to.
I don't think they realize that. They don't get it.
I said this.
Well, they kind of get it.
They will with time, with us going over it, as John is doing an admirable job of repeating, which is what it's all about. I got the best compliment ever from a baller. Someone was like, although he said, "Oh, it's actually now happening over at Flatsoid." Shout out to Flatsoid. Flatsoid's just got himself a new computer and is full tilt, balls to the wall, getting on with it and doing flat Earth content on an almost daily basis. So he'll get into his stride. He'll hopefully get a pattern, like a time that he goes regularly live. He will calm down eventually, or burn out, one or the other. But hopefully it won't come to that. But in the meantime, this is like when someone's bright shining candle is as bright as it can be. Hopefully, like I say, it doesn't burn out. But go and check out Flatsoid's channel. He's putting loads of stuff out. It's great. Really enjoying your stuff, by the way, Flatsoid. But while I was on holiday, someone left a comment saying, this channel's dead. It's the same as it was in 2015. Where it's happening is over at Flatsoids. I was like, number one, great that you're promoting Flatsoid, because that's good. But that I take as a compliment. If we've had that level of consistency from 2015, it just shows that the arguments haven't changed that much since 2015. Because, yeah, we do go over the same stuff on a daily basis. Why can I get away with that? There's so few topics in YouTube, and I do mean a tiny number of evergreen topics. Now, most evergreen topics are totally saturated. I'll give you an example, because it's something I'm interested in at the moment. Computing. Evergreen. There will always be YouTube channels about computers. Always. It's an evergreen subject. Now take a different contrasting example that's definitely not evergreen. Now there are our own that I could use, and I might do a couple of those as well. But if you take the Johnny Depp trial, definitely not an evergreen subject, right? But that is the contrast between what is most of the content on YouTube, which is here today, gone tomorrow. Bright burning stars that burn out doing what they do, and then the subject itself dies along with the content producer because they're burnt out in the time that they've put themselves in there. Now me, I didn't want that. I wanted to be a YouTuber for a career. Well, if you're doing that, you've got to have an evergreen subject. So then, whatever it was, 2014 or 2015, drops Flat Earth right into my lap, and I'm like, wow, an evergreen subject that's not saturated. Absolutely glorious. And why? Why does it still have potential for people to gain interest when they've been subscribed, Patreoned up? Why would they still do that? Well, because, number one, it's a massive paradigm change. And number two, like with this P waves and S waves, this is the point of this, by the way, you've got a constant stream of things from your everyday library, if you want, that show you how Earth is flat and how it must be measured that way. Now, obviously, we don't know them all. All we know is the propaganda that we're plagued with when we do research on Google. But you haven't got to look very far through the books to find how things are actually done. And people are taught to do these things today from the books. Now, those skills are never going to die on account of the fact that Earth's going to be flat next year. It didn't unfold from a ball. We haven't actually seen any physical change to our reality. It's always been flat, and it's always been dealt with as flat. So there's always something new coming to us personally, because we're on the cutting edge of this subject. For me personally, it's so exciting. Every day I get excited about this subject, because it is exciting when you wander out into the normie society. Everyone's plagued with the same heliocentric nonsense that you were when you were part of that religion, unbeknownst to you. So, fantastic stuff. We can find things like P waves and S waves and start asserting them not only in the the debunking. Oh no, that doesn't prove we're on a ball when you say there's a multi-line core because of P waves and S waves. In fact, it's a flat Earth proof. How are you actually taking this measurement? With a return angle measurement? All right, you're going to need a flat plane for that. Well, that's a lovely thing to be saying here in 2022, isn't it? P waves and S waves, if we'd have just dropped this subject and got sick of it or become anti-flat earthers, would be in the back of our mind as proving a sphere. When you look into the nitty-gritty and break down how it actually works, it requires a flat Earth.
So the person who left that comment is saying, skip your fundamental principles and let's get on to something that sounds exciting, but we stick to the fundamental principles of what the Socratic method and what science is. And it's the knife that's sharper than any knife in any debate, and it cuts through all the fallacies. Is that what he wants us to do? Skip that fundamental principles we use?
I get it. I get the sentiment, right? When you're describing that knife, that's a great analogy. At some point, that piece of metal's been ripped from Earth itself, hasn't it? Well, that particular stage, when you see that shiny bit of metal that you're eventually going to forge into the shiny knife, well, there's various different stages that people get excited about. Some people get the most excited about seeing it coming out of the Earth and go, wow. Obviously, that's comparable to hearing, for me, Math Powerland go, well, when you talk about flat Earth and the Earth being flat, and you go, what? That's the shiny metal coming out of the ground. Well, other end of the extreme, it's been forged, it's been made, it's been shaped, it's been pressed, it's been hammered, it's cooled down, and now it's on the wheel, it's getting sharpened. Sparks flying everywhere. Now, for me, that's the most exciting part, because every so often, while we're here going, sharpening this knife, going, look how sharp that is, man, that's so pointy. Someone comes from behind you, taps you on the shoulder, goes, Earth's a ball, dickhead! And you take that knife, and you shove it through them. You go, wow, this is so sharp, it chopped that person in half. Instantly. Wow, isn't that amazing? Then you realise something else, which is hopefully going to segue into Adam, if he's there. Or if he's not, don't worry. But you look at the blade. Oh, brill. You look at the blade and go, both sides of this blade are sharp. And then someone taps you on the shoulder from behind and goes, science doesn't prove anything. Look at my experiments for ether. And you go, whew, and the knife slices them in half too. You go, oh dear, this doesn't only work on ballers, does it? Works on flat earthers too. Gotta be careful with this. Could kill a lot of people. Anyway, enough metaphors about killing and knives. You there, Adam?
Well, I don't think Adam is there yet.
No, fair enough.
But,
I'm going to need about 6 or 7 minutes and I'll be there. I've literally just pulled up, so I've just got to unload the cart and I'll be in my shed too.
I have
Give him a bloody chance.
Do you like
I have a question.
my stabby metaphor?
Can you let Brian talk, please?
Go ahead, Brian. Everyone else, shush.
Yeah. There's a question I have, and I asked it to John and Refracted Coverage or John, and Chocolate, I think it was yesterday. For 7 years, we've been asked, where's your flat Earth map? Right? This is what we're getting for 7 years. Now, the response we always give is all maps are flat, right? Now, we can actually give them flat Earth maps. We can actually give them no doubt about it, flat Earth maps when we give them the most accurate maps in the world, which are OS maps, right? 2D and 3D OS maps. But a better question is, even though this is an oxymoron, but it's a better question, would be, where is your globe map? Which map is the globe map? Because I have yet to find or see one map or have one map actually claimed by our opposition as being the globe map? Is it the Mercator projection? Is it the Gore-Peters projection?
Flat.
Is it
Flat.
the AE projection?
How
Flat.
about just being to scale?
Hold on.
Hang
So
on.
far, hold on. So far, I've listed 3 flat ones.
Yeah, hang on. Is it the universal transverse Mercator?
Also
That's
flat.
another flat one. Where is the globe map? I know it's an oxymoron.
Well, let's see if
Where
we
is
can
your
run down
globe
one.
map?
Hold on, I've got one that's been claimed to me personally. Google Earth.
It's
Google
not
Earth,
the
that's
scale.
not a map.
Where's the scale map?
That's not a map.
It's also
Google Earth is
flat.
not a map.
Hold on, that's.
Until you,
Hold on.
it is. Hang on. It's not a map till you zoom in, and then it's a map because it becomes it uses tile coordinates, X, Y, Z coordinates. Then it's a map.
Yeah,
But
because
when you're zoomed out, it's
don't.
not a map.
You got to labour that. Stop. You're going too fast. Let the knife slide up them. Right. So you say it's on X and Y coordinates, right? So you're talking about a flat terrain, and you can prove it in Google Earth. You can draw an elevation profile, and you can draw it across the entirety of the known world, and it'll bring up a graph on the bottom and show you how high and how low the ground is in relation to its overall entirety. And that entire area, the whole world, is shown in Google Earth as being flat.
Yeah. But Google Earth
And
itself
not the
is not.
scale. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just wanted to
That's not the glo-
emphasize. Where's the scale globe map? You know, the scale. Where is it?
There isn't one. You can't have one. It doesn't work. You can't wrap a flat world around a spherical surface because Earth is actually flat. So when you try and project it, you fail. So you have to project it from the celestial sphere model over a flat plane onto a globe and then back out onto a cylinder and then roll out the cylinder. That's how you get to what they can call a globe projection. That's how they get away with calling it a globe projection. But the heart, the start of it, all starts with their latitude and longitude lines and utilization of the celestial sphere model. That would be angles to the stars from your flat plane that you measure the angles from.
But the thing about it is, if you look at the cylinder model, the cylinder map, most of those, let's say like the Mercator map, will have Greenland totally oversized and Africa totally undersized. And I remember back in 2015, NASA images that were supposedly images of the Earth from space. And I remember that they were showing the Mercator projection, right? Some of these, right? The Mercator projection is not the correct projection for sizes of continents and countries and the positioning of the continents and countries. If you want a more correct size of dimensions,
careful with
map,
your next words.
hang on. If you want a more map that is more correct for dimensions, it's claimed that the God-Peters map is the correct map for sizes and dimensions, but not for placement.
Yes, thank you for being careful with your words. Yes, it is claimed
I
that the
was always going to
Gore-Peters
be
is
careful.
more accurate. That is their claim, yes.
The point is that we have all these different maps, right? And none of them, for a start, are a globe map. And none of them have even been seen. I have yet to hear one of them being actually claimed as the globe map. All they've ever said to us is that all maps are globe maps. Like, that's not an answer. That's a load of rubbish. For instance, I had Rob, right? I asked Rob if he could wrap the Gleason's map around the globe, make it back into a globe. And he has 20 years of experience with CAD. And he even tried it with his friends who have as much and more experience than him. And they couldn't do it.
Yeah,
Something's
it can't
wrong.
be done. Yeah, that's something I knew from very early on. It cannot be done. And there is
Yeah.
no globe model to present. So, again, I originally gave this credit to Cathexis incorrectly, all hail Quantum Eraser, who gave the example, and just asked Cathexis, or told Cathexis, that they don't have a globe model. If you ask them to present you with a heliocentric globe model, they won't give you one. There isn't one. So that's what he nonchalantly did with, I believe it was Gem Panda. Just said, while he was babbling on about the globe model, he said, "Can I see it?" and there's a sudden panic, well, they didn't have one to present. Because there
Well,
isn't.
not the scale anyway.
Well, I
Give
can
me one that
present the
isn't
globe
to scale.
model.
Give me
They
any.
still don't have one.
Give me any, Arwin. You've got till the end of the show.
yeah.
You've got 10 minutes. Just have a quick
What?
Google. See what. Go and get me a globe model. Any globe model.
Define model.
There's supposed to be an all-encompassing, perfectly to scale, representative of the world we live on globe model, isn't there? We hear about it all the time. Let's see that.
Yeah, well, there actually is a globe model. It just does not match reality. What it is a circle,
Figure.
an orthographic circle.
Oh, I thought you were going
That's
to talk about
what
a figure of
globe
the Earth.
model is.
Okay, figure of
That
the
has-
Earth was
yeah.
the closest I got, but yeah, okay.
That's
I
it.
have a question.
Go on.
If the Earth is a sphere and we navigate it as a sphere, then
Yes,
why
you
would we apply a transformative equation to it?
That makes no sense. You wouldn't need to apply a transformative equation to make it spherical. If it was spherical, it would just be spherical. You just navigate it spherical. No transforming it from flat to spherical.
But they
Right.
needed
So the
because maps are
Habersign
flat.
formula.
They needed because maps are flat, so they had to transform it from a globe into a plane.
Yeah, but the flat maps came
No.
from a flat world with a sphere of the heavens above it, or around it, if you want to look at it that way. Technically above it, and then they sandwich the two over the one over the other, north and south. So when you assert north and south hemispheres within the celestial sphere model, you've still got two flat planes, one on top of the other in that model. Well, in any event, you've got to go from that to mapping out longitude and latitude lines to then project those points based on the circles and movements of the stars and your angle measurements to them up back onto a cylinder to then roll out the cylinder to give you a flat map like the Mercator or the Gaull-Peters.
That
Yeah,
sounds
it's actually
very
worse than that,
complicated.
though. It's worse than that. What they actually do is someone can have a sextant and be on a ship at sea, take an angle, as well as doing all the corrections, the height of void correction, and everything they need to do. Gain a distance. Let's just say they get a 45-degree angle to a celestial body. That'll be a 2,700 nautical mile horizontal distance. It can take that angle in any direction on that boat, in any direction. And that horizontal angle will always equate in a horizontal within a horizontal distance to the 1.1508, right, conversion rate between nautical and statute miles, always, without fail. Then they take that, they turn that into the radius for a circle of equal altitude, which is a totally horizontal plane. Then they go through that process two more times. That's a massive horizontal area that's being measured, where every horizontal distance will always match the 1.1508 nautical to statute conversion rate, always. Then they put then they put these things that they've already measured onto a universal transverse Mercator map, which is admittedly completely distorted. And then they undistort it and add the R value with their Habersign formula. And that's what they do. They distort it first so they can undistort it and put it on a globe via what they call great circle routes, which are just straight line distances. That's what they do.
Yeah, but if the Earth's a sphere and you navigate it as a sphere, then why would you have to apply a transformative equation like the Habersign formula to it?
Exactly.
Perfect. I rumpused you when you started last time because I
Because
didn't pick
maps
up on
are
the fact you were saying it, but I'm glad it got through once uninterrupted. Correct. Now you can have the reply. You wouldn't. If it's a sphere, you just measure and navigate it as a sphere. You wouldn't apply a transformative equation to get it to be spherical. It would already be spherical. So you wouldn't need to if Earth was a sphere.
I'm going to give you a numpty misunderstanding and say, yeah, but it's because all maps are flat, so they had to do that.
No, you're talking about Habersign to
But
get
maps
it.
is the
No, no.
only- Maps is how the modeling started.
Hold on, Owen.
right?
You've got a misconception. Can someone just explain what the Habersign formula
I
actually
know.
does?
I'm I'm making that misunderstanding on purpose to reflect the numpty believer.
That's fine, but we'll deal with it. That's fine.
Are you saying, Erwin, that there's a reverse hammer sign?
Oh,
No,
look,
no.
somebody
Just somebody
in the chat
explain what.
actually confirmed what I said.
Let's get John. You two are just going to trash this out, and I don't want that. John, just explain what the process of applying the Haversine formula is done for. What's its purpose? Transforming what?
It's to bend the circle of equal altitude onto a sphere.
You all hear that?
Well, it does two things, actually.
Well, numpties don't. They're not
does two
hearing
things.
that.
Loud and
Brian.
clear.
Hang on.
Okay.
Hang on.
Arwin and
Hang
Neil.
on.
Thank you. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Nathan. It does two things. It also corrects from the distortion that has been created within the distance, the horizontal distance. Once they put these circles of equal altitude onto a universal transverse Mercator, so they distort. They take a correct measurement in horizontally take a correct measurement, which can be thousands of miles in distance across a horizontal plane. Then they distort that and everything that's connected to that, circles of equal altitude, etc. And then they undistort the distances that they distorted and curve the longitude lines to create circles of great circle routes. So it's not just that they're creating great circle routes; they're also undistorting a distance that they distort. That's the trick. Why would you measure? It's like what the claim is nearly so stupid that they're claiming that when a navigator uses a sextant and takes a measurement of 45 degrees to a celestial body at sea, that the distance between that navigator and the GP of that point is not 2,700 nautical miles. That's basically what they're trying to claim. When it is, but they distort that when they put it onto their distorted universal transverse Mercator map, and they undistorted the distance that they've distorted and add in the R value, curve the longitude lines.
Can I have a shot at it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been on my soapbox enough.
No, it's okay. So the angle measurement is done by a sextant. A sextant is an angle measuring device. An angle is two straight lines meeting at a common point called the vertex. So obviously, it's a flat Earth that the angle is being derived from. Then it's projected out. If you can think of a protractor, the arc of the protractor is being projected out to the point where the GP of the sun or star and the GP of the observer with the sextant is now placed on the arc curved surface. So they get it from the equatorial plane, it's projected out to the celestial sphere, and then reprojected back through the Haversine formula to create those positions on a curved surface rather than where it was derived from, which is a flat plane.
Okay, Adam, you there?
I am. I'm just opening up my PC now, mate. So I should just go straight in.
Okay. Well, while Adam's changing his connection and going onto his PC, John, can you give us a preamble? Is that possible on the spot?
Well, Jaron had made a claim that water boils at different temperatures in different containers, which we all said to that, well, there's a Nobel Prize waiting for you if you're able to debunk the Celsius scale. That's a pretty big deal. And then he made reference to, well, what are we going to define boiling as? Are we going to call it the first bubble? Or, well, all these things, when he cited the journal that he got this information from and the article within that journal, all these questions were answered in that article. He just never referenced them. But Adam went ahead and read on. I guess Jaron decided to stop reading and found where their conclusion debunked everything that Jaron had cited the article for, which is really embarrassing if you're, if that's your citation and your citation debunks your claim. That's humiliating. And that's probably why he didn't read that last part. I could see that.
Hopefully that's enough segue for you, Adam.
Yeah.
I've got your screen presented.
You got it. Cool. Yeah, I mean, this was put up, and this is more my field. So I was very interested, and I noticed the name of the paper that was up there. So
Just before you go on, what is your field, Adam? Make sure you speak nice and clear into your mic.
well, I'm a pharmacist, so I'm trained specifically in how drugs work, but also formulation design. So how tablets are made, aerosols, all those sorts of things. And this sits in my old kind of pharmaceutics class. So I was quite interested because these are things you've got to control. You want to be using boiling points, etc., as fixed things. So I thought I'll have a good read with an open mind. The first thing I noticed is this is not a scientific paper. I think I've said this before, the term Christmas miscellany, Nathan, which in the journals, the professional journals, you tend to get round about Christmas, people write things like this, which is a kind of nice, entertaining and informative news feature, article piece, yeah, which will sum up somebody's learning and history and make a few points and describe the history of whatever they're discussing along the way and how we learn and what we learn. This appears to be what this is. It's a gentleman called Hasok Chang, who has replicated some of the bits in 2004, and you can see this is written up in 2008. However, most of what he's relating to and the citation comes from the late 1700s, and in some points is attributable to our old friend Mr. Cavendish. So I think we've all heard the claims that are being put within here, different bits and bobs in terms of different boiling points, etc., etc. Here we go. Look, history goes through a very long-winded way, pictures, all sorts of stuff. But we're going through quite a few different situations where they're doing these experiments, testing it, seeing this, seeing that, seeing the other. And I said, this is a while ago, but the crux of it is they're going through, well, if this does this, how do we have any certainty in things? And this team tends to be at the latter end. So this is quite an interesting point. So what exactly is boiling then? If one considers that boiling begins when the bubbles start breaking the surface, then it seems the water begins to boil around 96. In fact, just around where Adams had marked it in figure 1. This is quite active boiling around 98 degrees, after which vehement boiling starts. The temperature does then seem to settle at 100. So what's being described here is just phases up to the boiling point, a settled boiling point. And people are noticing this, seeing what links, what types of bubbles you get, what kind of bubble behavior you're getting, what is the causation of that bubble behavior? Is the container in which it's in a factor in terms of the type of bubble that's formed? These are all lots of things. And as they go through this, they come to the conclusion, if you're doing stuff in a lab, use a metal or glass, yeah? They're the best things for ensuring even temperature, a heat transmission. Now, there are oddities they're doing by controlling things, coating glass in sulfuric acid so that there's no way a bubble can form, so making it super smooth so there's no points where you can get bubble formation. And they're finding there that you could then superheat water. You've probably done the opposite of this at home in the past. Water's a funny molecule because of some of the bonds that's in it. So it has the ability to retain extra heat. And also not freeze, even if it's below zero. So if you think sometimes in the fridge, you can put water in, it'd be absolute, the water looks, it's liquid still. You put something in it, a spoon or a thing, it instantly freezes. So it's talking about some of those nuances of the way water behaves. And it's showing that you could get with degassing the air, you can get it and then slowly heating it up. You can get it up to 100 odd degrees, 110, I think. But what they do point out is be very, very careful here, because when you stick your thermometer in, it will explode. It will explode because suddenly everything will start boiling. And then if you leave these things, you might get it up to a certain, but at any particular point, it will level out. And this is what it's saying. After vermin boiling starts, so once everything's reached equilibrium at the point, then it will settle down to around 100 degrees. And this is what it talks a little bit here in different vessels, putting metal chips in, how you can affect the, there we go, actually, boiling chips, which we do in labs, you know, just to kind of maintain even heat transmission throughout the full liquid. There we go. So these are works relating to 1772 and around there. So really old stuff, which is like, so it's important because this is how we got to this knowledge. And this, I suppose, is the crux of what the article is teaching you. And it's asking you, well, what is boiling? You know, fundamentally, and I think QE mentioned this, fundamentally boiling is the point where water liquid is turning into water vapor. And this is saying, well, if we don't have a definitive temperature that this is happening, how can we make thermometers? It's a really valid point.
Can I ask something?
No,
Okay.
I'm not finished. Just give me 5 minutes, Owen, and then I'm nearly there, and
No
then
problem.
we'll come to it. But the last bit of this is, like I said, this is over time, people learning, figuring out, oh God, if I put the thermometer in here, it can explode. If I put it in here, I get this temperature. I put it, if you use this. And what they realized is, well, we're measuring the temperature of the water, but we're supposed to be measuring the temperature of the phase transmission. And when we measure in the water, there's all sorts of variables that come into account that we need to control. Okay, but actually, at the point where water liquid turns into water vapor, that's also the same phase transition point. So why not measure it there? And that's kind of what the conclusion they came to. So I'll just read this last bit of this page, and it basically sums it up. I will preface it just a little bit here. It's talking about basically the best way to get water to boil without having to worry is don't do too much. Don't just let it be. Don't sterilize your vessels. Don't do all of this. Just act normal. Don't do anything to it. And pretty much you won't get variation in boiling of water. However, happy-go-lucky sloppiness is not the most robust strategy for building scientific knowledge in the end, as the Royal Society Committee realised quite well. The committee's lasting contribution, the last of the three factors contributing to the fixity of the boiling point, was to find one clear method of reducing the variations of the boiling point due to miscellaneous causes. The most accurate way of adjusting the boiling point is not to dip the thermometer into the water, but expose it only to the steam. Somehow using the boiled off steam rather than the boiling water itself seemed to eliminate most of the intractable variations in the temperature. Interesting that, isn't it? But when we take it away from the vessel with the variations in and just go to the point of just pure water, just the water vapor, all of those variations disappear. So I'll just read the final quote from them. The heat of the steam therefore appears to be not sensibly different in different parts of the same pot. Neither does there appear to be any sensible difference in its heat, whether the water boils fast or slow, whether there be a greater or less depth of water in the pot, or whether there be a greater or less distance between the surface of the water and the top of the pot. So that the height of the thermometer tried in steam in vessels properly closed seems to be scarcely sensibly affected by the different manner of trying the experiment. The recommendation to use steam came most strongly from Cavendish, who had already made the same proposal in his review of the instrument used to the Royal Society. I'll leave it at that.
Wow. Fascinating. So
Go on, Owen.
yeah, it is a complicated thing, right? To me, what I learned at a very young age is that the evaporation due to heat of water actually starts before 100 degrees, I think around like somewhere in the 80s. And the thing is, though, that what I learned is that even if you then introduce more heat, all that happens is just that the like more than 100 degrees, the water will just evaporate quicker, but effectively it will stay around 100 degrees.
Okay.
Right? And but this is
But,
interesting
sorry,
about the steam.
It's
thank you,
called
Owen.
the latent heat of vaporization, and you will get water. So water molecules will share that latent heat with each other, which is why even at room temperature, water will evaporate off.
Okay.
When you boil
Very
it.
slowly.
However,
Yeah.
the assertion of methodology dumbed down with an explanation of water boiling as a phenomena isn't the question what point in temperature does water boil? The question is what causes water to boil? That's the question. So while we are using a dumbed down explanation to simplify the methodology that establishes in the hypothesis if A, the cause that you assume will cause your effect you are studying, then B, the effect you are studying, and the contrapositive, which is if A, your presumed cause of the thing you are studying, then not B, not the effect induced by you varying your presumed cause. That's a hypothesis. If A, then B, and if A, not B. Now, this is what the philosophers of science came up with to form empiricism upon variation of A. In this case, heat. So we established that with the application of our presumed cause of the effect we are studying, the effect being water boiling, not what temperature water boils at, why does it boil? Well, in the hypothesis, you have a presumed cause of that effect. That's an independent variable, A, in my example and logic. A is heat. If A, that's if heat, then B, that's water boiling, is your alternative scientific prediction, otherwise known as a hypothesis, which also has alongside it the contrapositive known as a null. If A, my presumed cause of the effect we are studying, that's heat, then not B, not water boiling. Now, upon variation of A, that's application of heat to water, then you will either cause water to boil, in which case you have validated your alternative hypothesis, you have proven it, or you apply heat if A and water does not boil. So, the only things we need to know is how much heat. Well, you can give that in a controlled sense because everything that's not being varied, that's heat. Not trying to ascertain what temperature. The arbitrary mathematical scale we assign isn't what we're concerned with. It's the cause. So
Well,
cause
I think it's
is what we're trying to establish. That's all we're trying to get across to Jaren, Globebusters, Bob specifically, who I've done this many years ago, and I'm having to repeat myself now. It's all we're interested in. The cause of the effect, and the effect is boiling water. Not what temperature. That's it.
With that, just before you go, John, in all of this paper, that established scientific fact is a given and implicit in what they do and test here within all of these things. And none of the things that they're testing do they try to make water boil without the use of heat. In every instance, it's given and accepted that to make the water boil, we're going to need to add heat. What they're investigating here is some of the oddities. As I've described, a lot of the oddities are coming out of the apparatus, as opposed to how to do it accurately, which is to take your measurement away from the apparatus at the same phase point. So that's just to reiterate, the fact that the reason water boils is you're adding heat is a given and implicit in all of the understanding of this document. I'm done, John.
And it's used because it's implicit. That's why it was used by me and originally by Quantum Eraser as the example. Everybody understands implicitly that the application of the causal influencer is heat. You must apply that cause to get the effect. So you can simplify that into cause, heat, effect, water boiling. Contrapositive null hypothesis being heat, if applied, won't cause water to boil. And only one of those two things can and will be demonstrated as proven, true, fact at the end of the process. You apply heat and it can only do one or the other of those two things. It can either cause it to boil, in which case you've established a cause and effect relationship. If heat, then water boiling, in the most dumbed down way we can explain science to people. Or, if heat applied, water won't boil. Now that is so dumbed down so that you can understand that at the end of that process, something's getting proven. Because that's what the scientific method offers. Proof. In either instance, you're gonna prove one or the other. Either the water will boil when you apply heat, or it won't boil when you apply heat. Once you establish that you apply heat and it boils, you know that the causal influencer is heat. Now, if you remove that causal influencer and start fiddling with bowls, the water won't boil. Because a scientifically proven fact is that water needs heat applied for it to boil in nature. For all of you clowns that want to tell me about the pressure differential, you show me where some sort of pressure difference is causing water to boil in nature. Because that's exclusively what science is interested in. The naturally observed phenomena that we experience in our physical world, that's exclusively what we're interested in here at Flat Earth Debate. The natural world. Because that's what we've been lied to about. And you know what? Science is exclusively interested in just that. So that's my interest. I'm only interested in the physical and natural world, and that's all that science, not being reified, the method thereof when applied, is also dealing with. Cause and effect relationships in our physical and natural world, naturally observed phenomena. And that powerful tool of empiricism has been used against us to claim we're on a ball when they say science says, or my paper, my peer review, my man in white coat. And none of those things are science. What is science if A, then B, or if A, not B, actualized by varying A to see if it caused B? That's a scientific prediction and experiment in one breath. It's very basic. That's why we're using boiling water, because everybody knows you have to apply heat as the cause. Proven when you apply it and water boils. Disproving the null that application of heat doesn't cause water to boil. One or other's going to be proven and is when you apply heat to water. So what do we get from the clown shows that have used the same exact magic trick on you, the flat earthers watching? Well, what do we get? We get science doesn't prove anything. Yeah, it bloody does. What? We're going to talk about the temperature of where water boils, if and only if heat's applied. Because that's how it's boiling in nature if you're studying it. And that's what we're interested in, nature. Our world. Because that's what we do here. We don't go around punting new age crap about stuff we can't prove that's non-manifest. That's not our bag. That's the bag of clown shows. We're not that. Anybody got anything else to add?
Yeah, the thing is Jaron introduced the red herring to the point, which you went back to the point just then, and you're not wrong to do. But the red herring itself, as Adam shown, is incorrect, because as he went through all the variations, what the definition of boiling is vapor pressure. It's dealing with a phase change. And that phase change to a vapor pressure is exclusively measured at 100 degrees Celsius.
Perfect.
I would just like
Brian,
to
you
say
can have the last
before we
word.
finish.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just
go ahead.
before we finish.
No, go ahead.
Just for Jerome Campanella to understand, when he's talking about, incorrectly talking about 98 degrees, 101 degrees, 99 degrees, and all these different containers, he's forgetting that he's talking about an actual temperature. The cause is the temperature, even though he was wrong with his assertions, because he didn't, maybe he did, maybe he didn't read the full of what he had in front of him. But the point is that he was talking about a temperature, completely missing the point. It's a heat, it's a temperature, heat, causing the thing, boiling. Is he stupid?
Yeah, let's not
That's what
get
I was
into
gonna
this.
say,
Yes,
Brian.
we could all spend a few minutes saying how stupid is this guy when we've dumbed it down to the point of almost absurdium. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, thank you for smashing the super chat, as Sasha did, so I'll read that out. People do not make photo of the clock on 20 miles. People do not make photo of the clock on 20 miles. I think he's talking about Barrow and Finesse. We'll get back to your super chat in the after show, Sasha, but thank you very much indeed to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. Another massive thank you to today's Discord. I'm just getting used to Gilded and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Insert something, right? In the after show.
Inserting
So,
it in me.
What?
And if you do, make sure you're looking right in his. If you do,
I knew
make sure
somebody
you're
was
looking right
gonna
in his
go there.
eyes.
wow. Okay. Chaos. Right. So I want to introduce a new saying, a play on. You know it's real because you can't handle it. This is a blatantly obvious hybrid between two meme sayings out there. And
Elon
it's
Mike,
still true.
Elon Mike.
I can hear that feedback now. That's something going on at your end. Now I've heard it. Or is that just Arwin's mic open through his own mic? I don't know, one or the other.
Could be me, sorry.
Yeah, I think it was you. Sorry, I spoke to you soon, Brian. I'm still yet to figure out what... I don't just ignore you when you tell me that you're feeding back, by the way. I immediately start pressing buttons. I just don't like to discuss it as much as possible. But, you know, I still can't figure out what's causing it at your end. You're the only one, but there's got to be something.
So I was right. You do press buttons.
Yes, I do. That's correct. Lots of button pressing, yes. All mute.
But that's weird though, because when I listen back to the shows, I don't get any feedback. So you're the only one that seems to really be hearing it, Nathan.
Yeah, but I don't hear it. Brian hears it. I can't hear it
No,
either.
I hear it. I hear it when Brian goes to talk. I hear the feeding back as well.
Nathan, while you
I
were
don't.
transitioning, the show to the after show, Neil said, "Why are they doing it if the evidence is right there?" So why does anybody do anything or stick to a belief or to a position when the evidence is contrary? If you can answer that, you can answer this one. It's the same. We all
I
know what the
can.
reason is.
I've just got
I can
well,
answer
no, then that
that.
wasn't
It's because
rhetorical.
they have no
Hello?
viable alternative.
We all know
So
what the
they
reason
just
is, and
go
I
with what
don't.
they know, even if they know it's wrong.
Hold on, Arwin. Just no, don't leave that rhetorical. What is the reason, according to you?
Well,
Then-
when you have a bias so strong and you don't want to give it up in lieu of evidence that goes against the bias, you decide to keep the bias, which you know is a lie, compared to the evidence that says otherwise. So it's a personal decision of a person to say 2 and 2 is 5 when everyone proves it's 4 and they just won't budge.
On that, I'd like
Good
to
point.
follow on then, 10. There was one bit I missed as you cut us out, and I thought, screaming, no! And this is the bit towards the end, look. Modern theories of boiling. I'll just read the first line and then I'll scroll down and it should make the point. In the traditional theory of boiling in physics and the physical chemistry, the boundary between the liquid state and the gas state is sharply defined as the line on which the vapor pressure as a function of temperature reaches the level of the external pressure, which is what QE's been saying. Therefore, in the best modern theory of boiling, we have the temperature of water itself has no role to play.
Wow.
The QE found that.
Wait,
No,
what?
QE was stating earlier that this first bit, what is boiling? Where were two people were talking bubbles, and John alluded to it earlier. I'll read it again. In the traditional theory of boiling in physics and physical chemistry, the boundary between the liquid state and the gas state is sharply defined as the line on which the vapor pressure as a function of temperature reaches the level of the external pressure. That's boiling. So as they summarize to say, therefore, in the best modern theory of boiling, we have the temperature of water itself. It has no role to play.
That
Yeah.
makes things
Wow.
kind of complicated.
No, it's
No,
the
it doesn't.
Explains it perfectly.
It's
That
perfect.
explains it. Yep.
Go on. I've shut
What?
Darwin down 3 times now. So go ahead, Darwin. Why would that make things complicated? Feel free.
Well, if temperature has no influence on the boiling point, then like what? I'm sorry, I might just be completely lost off track here. It's just
Remember when we say at 1 atmosphere? At 1
Yeah.
atmosphere, it boils at 100. If I reduce the pressure, it will boil earlier. And that's what it's saying. So the temperature itself isn't what boiling is. Boiling, in the traditional theory of boiling, is the boundary between the liquid state and the gas state, sharply defined as the line on which vapor pressure reaches the level of the external pressure. So temperature per se isn't, any particular temperature per se isn't boiling. Boiling is when the vapor pressure reaches the, yeah.
Oh. So it's directly dependent on how, basically the pressure outside will then determine like when the water starts boiling. But it's still the heat that causes the boiling, right? Without heat,
Exactly.
you know.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an evaporation issue. It's a phase change issue.
But the temperature itself doesn't have the role to play. It's that difference between vapor pressure and the external pressure that is the definition of boiling when those
Well,
two equal.
I did know
Arwen,
that.
Arwen,
That
hold-
if you
hold on.
put water like in a vacuum chamber, that it literally with the temperature of just chamber temperature, it will evaporate, right? It will start boiling. It will look like it's boiling, and then it will be
What's that?
gone.
Does that
How's
happen
it doing that,
naturally?
Arwen? Just to-
By matching the transition point, the evaporation, with the super low pressure that surrounds it, so that that level will be significantly lowered to
Now,
temperature,
Arwen,
to room
Arwen,
temperature.
At that temperature, the water is boiling because the vapor pressure on the surface of the water at that low temperature is equal to the air pressure around it, so it will boil, correct?
Right, exactly.
Arwen, did you not hear Nathan? When do we experience that in nature?
Well, we
I don't
do
know, I've never
experience it
stumbled
at
into a
higher
natural
altitude.
vacuum chamber, right?
No,
But,
where do we experience a vacuum if nature abhors a vacuum?
well, vacuums do kind of exist, but not to any tangible scale. I mean, on the micro
Okay,
level, it
answer.
happens.
When do we see what you just said
We
in
don't.
nature?
Only among our man-made experimental devices.
Okay. Okay, so it's why are you even bringing it in? I mean, it's pretty obvious what Adam said. It's a given that they knew heat was the cause. So they don't even mention that. They just talk about the transformative phase change as that's the point with the outside pressure, to be more pedantic, I guess. But the point is the heat is already a given factor. And we said scientific method proves things of things that are naturally occurring in nature. So when you see a hot spring boiling, you're saying, huh, I wonder what's causing that. You put your finger in it and said, man, it's hot. I know fire is hot. Maybe if I apply fire to cold water and it might boil. So I'm going to do a hypothesis here. I mean, this is so simple. Where they have taken it is because they need to do that because it disproves their ether through the scientific method. That other guy on the show, I can't remember his name, said, well, one day science might be able to prove this, but right now it can't. Who was that
Well,
guy?
they're willing to throw science, the scientific method, and its precision overboard just for their own, I guess, narrative convenience.
But let me
Which is
finish.
extreme.
Let me finish my thought. Who was that guy that said that on that recording? Who was
I
that
got
guy
his
on?
name. Nathan knows his name.
Nathan, do you know who that guy was that said the scientific method can't prove the ether, but one day in the future it might? Who was that guy?
Mike.
What?
Mike.
Mike. Okay, guess what Mike just admitted to? He admitted that in the future,
Science proves things.
science proves things. That destroys Jaron. That destroys Jaron just playing that recording. Science can never prove things. Science has never proved things. Well, scientific method can't now, but in the future it might. Oh, so one guy on their panel says the method is good, but not now? This is, I mean, these people are crazy. People are crazy.
Well, he's also appealing to Legion, the scientific method, you know?
He's giving veracity to it. It doesn't prove it now, but it will in the future because it's a great method. We just don't know how to twist it to make it work now, but one day we might be able to twist it. Come on.
He said a valid scientific method, as if there's more than one.
Yeah, the sentiment was that there isn't a scientific method to validate it yet, but there'll be a method to validate it in the future. A new scientific method that will validate it. Like you say, in
Kiwi
Well,
Corsa.
Sounds like M. Scott Beach.
Didn't he just throw Jaron under the bus with that?
Yeah.
Well, yes and no, because it's an appeal to the future fallacy.
I know, but apart from that, when Jaron says science doesn't prove things, that's not appeal to the future. He's saying now science doesn't prove things. This guy says, hold on, Jaron, in the future it might.
Well, no, if you do something for me right now, right? If you take either hand, pick one of them, and put it back over your neck and grab yourself by the shirt or the t-shirt or whatever, and then with the other hand grab yourself at the belt at the back or the back of your pants, right? And then run yourself out the front door, right? That's what Jaron did to himself in front of a bus.
I was just getting ready to do it, but I didn't like it at all.
I tried to get this across on the live show, right? We need to utilize this as a useful opportunity to reiterate the main points: cause and effect relationships, if A, then B, as opposed to have a dig at Jaron over again. He's useful, therefore referencing somebody to make it about them makes people listen. It gets their attention, but don't over abuse that by just calling him an idiot. Yeah, you can if you've just made a good example.
Well, hang on, Nathan.
How you ended the show, hold on, let me say something. The way you ended the show was beautiful. Teaching. Everybody's going to learn. So now let us have a go a little bit.
Hang on, Nathan. I have never cursed out Jaron or anybody. Okay, so I have never had a dig on Jaron. But when he doubles, triples, quadruples, and all the other tipples down and refuses to learn, you're going to say the guy is purposely doing something amidst everyone who cares for him, giving him instruction. I don't hate Jaron. I like Jaron. I hope he comes to his senses. But you got to point out the stupidity after 10, 20 attempts to fix it, and he won't listen. What are you going to say?
A wise
Well-
man receives instruction and increases knowledge.
Well, I don't think that my analogy was incorrect.
I thought it was right on point.
I
The problem
thought it was
is-
quite on point too.
Not at all.
The problem is, Brian, I'm not wearing a shirt, so I couldn't do it.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to do it. You only be a half-assed attempt. Look, Nathan, I'm sorry. If you're looking for me to have respect for somebody who has obviously proven himself to be a disappointment, at least a disappointment on several occasions, who has avoided having any honest conversation with us, has called you out for being something that you certainly weren't, and attacked your livelihood. I'm sorry, I just don't have it.
Yeah, I'm not
I
asking
don't
you to
have
give
it.
him respect. I'm
Yes,
just saying
Aaron.
it's so easy to become the thing that we hate. And it is even easier when it's almost justifiable because you've got all the reasons behind you. But in that respect, I don't see it as any different to some baller that's I don't
Nathan,
want to go after Craig,
Nathan.
for instance. And I'm sure at some point Craig's called me a scammer or something similar, the sentiment, if you know what I mean. But does that make any difference in terms of how I want to go after Craig or anything that he points out in his arguments? No.
Nathan.
Which I'm nearly there. It hurts a bit more when it's someone that you're associated with, you've interviewed, you've literally shook their hand and had a meal with. All those things are a bit disappointing. Doesn't alter what we're trying to do here. And I've had the same sentiment, Brian, haven't I? So I can't. It's like do as I do, but do as I say, but not as I do. In that regard, I thought you were going to come up with some examples, but you didn't because you're a good guy. But my point is that by saying it, it just puts it out there that is kind of what I'm hoping for. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel that way. I do, and have aired that more than once. So yeah, I want to agree with you, but also put it out there that I don't want that to be its usefulness. A good reason to air our grievances.
You
Nathan.
don't want it to be taken to the ground.
Yeah,
Okay, hang on.
You
No.
get it. Go ahead, 10th. Sorry, Brian.
No one's doing that. No one's doing that, and no one has done that. And here's what I'm saying. You were called a scammer, not Brian or me, but then later we were called something else and we were connected with you. Fine. So we all got dragged in the same net eventually. But Flatzoid has been offering the olive branch to Jaron and wanted to see if there was a place we can meet and discuss this intelligently, civilly. Have you read Jaron's responses to Flatzoid? Flatzoid is done with Jaron because Jaron has pissed off Flatzoid after he reached out with an olive branch trying to do what you're saying. Now, we've done this. I have never attacked Jaron. I've attacked his argument. But if someone's going to, in the face of evidence, and then in this case, citation that he puts out, and Adam reads it through, that does what Thought.co did to Kosho when he brought that evidence, worked against his own point. What do you say at this point?
Nothing. You just keep doing what we're doing.
Well, you've got to say the reason someone that I respected and loved his shows is doing this is because he doesn't want to admit when he's wrong. When he's wrong, it's pride. And then he has to take a scientific method, empirical, and try to destroy that to keep his position strong, because that destroys his position. Now that is ridiculous and wrong. I got to call him out on that.
Well, that's projection then, because he's saying that we can't admit when we're wrong. I just want to know where they're wrong. What has QE said or Nathan said or anybody in this flat earth debate that has been proven wrong or
You
where
don't
we
need-
lied? Show me.
Listen, Neil, you don't even have to go outside of their own camp. Bob says science proved the ether. That's what Bob said.
Exactly.
Mike said science hasn't yet proved the ether, but one day it might be able to. Whitsitt says science proves things. Okay. And Jaron says science doesn't prove anything.
Well-
Just keep it in their camp and let that craziness stay there. We have
Precisely.
never.
Exactly.
It's
Don't
not
take it
so-
to the.
So I,
Yes, he called me a scammer, but let's not harp on about that because that's not useful. That's not what the show's about. Otherwise, it just turns into us bleating and airing our dirty laundry about how we are about I've been called a scammer. Oh no! Yeah. It's not the worst thing I've been
no,
called.
we're,
just
we're
But
back.
it's not coming from our side. It's coming
I
from
know
their
it hurts.
side.
I
They're
did
claiming
say
we
that.
hate
He was
them.
just
It hurt.
projecting
I get it.
anyway. Don't play into it.
I get it, but let's just not use the personal attacks to defend those things. Now, does it matter that it's left out there? If I'd have not even addressed it ever, not mentioned the fact that he called me a scammer, it wouldn't have had. It would have had a better end result. That would have been focused on less. My butthurt nature about being called a scammer by one of my own has meant that it got focused on by me. Well, that's my own bloody fault. If I'd have just kept it on the subject matter, that would have been all anybody ever heard from this side of the fence. So I've made it personal. That lowers the quality. And really, that's all we should be focused on. How good's the quality of information we can squeeze out of Jaron's misapprehensions about science? That's it. All right, you call me a scammer
Hang
too? All right,
on.
that's nice. Moving
Hold
on.
on a sec.
Hang on. If he had contacted you personally by phone or email, called you a scammer, that's one thing. He did it publicly. He needs to be accountable for that.
Well, not only that, he committed fraud to claim that you were scamming. That's the part that irks me.
I'm just curious. I don't watch Globebusters, so I don't know what they're doing. Did they have a nice roundtable discussion about whether science proves things or not? Because I think that would be very helpful to their community. Because apparently there seems to be some miscommunication when you've got one side saying science proves things, the other side saying science doesn't, and they're sitting at the same table. Now, obviously, you don't about subjective things, you don't have to agree, but whether science proves things or not is not subjective, it's objective. So just waiting to see if they're gonna have a nice little round table to figure that out.
Chocolate,
I
what
don't
side
think
of the
they-
Chocolate, what side of the argument ballers and flat earthers says science doesn't prove things?
Ballers used to say science proves things when they thought they had science to prove a globe, which is a category error because science establishes cause and effect, not what is questions. But yeah, after they've been made to realize they don't have any science, they now tell us that science doesn't prove things.
So
yeah,
when
ballers.
thank you. So now do the same assessment. Once we ask for scientific proof of ether and they realize they can't, they say,
Science doesn't prove things.
the same MO.
Then why did he come up with a hypothesis for it?
Yeah, that's a good point, Neil. See, this is the problem. Look, let me lay it out. It's very simple. And even though we all know it, and I think I put this into the war room or something a week ago or more, but it's very simple what's happening. Ether was under attack. It was being shown up to be what it is, which is just a spiritual belief, which it admitted, right? A spiritual belief. That's all it is. It exists as a belief outside our 3D world. When it was under attack and getting decimated, and it was losing followers and people who were interested in it, because it was being shown to be not something that is provable, and admittedly not provable, admittedly by Witsit, not provable in the 3D world. Right? You can only assert that magnetism or electricity or Foucault pendulums or whatever the hell else you want to assert is connected to it. But you can't define it because you can't experience it because it's outside your reality, right? What happened? Suddenly Jaren is attacking Nathan, right? And there's all this other big hullabaloo that happens. And Ether is being left alone. And who has not come forward, with the exception of attacking Flatside in his chat, to address any of this? Only Bob. The very fella who started pumping out this absolute rubbish back in 2018 on a very well-known documentary. So I don't have any trust. I don't know about Witted, but I have zero trust in Bob and I have zero trust in Jerome Campanella. And whatever their agenda is. I think Witted is really just a believer. And he can't let go of a belief. And he's making himself look silly and stupid because he can't let go of a belief. That's what I think about Witted. But Jerome Campanella and Bob Nodell, they have an agenda. That is that.
Well,
Because if you didn't have an agenda, you wouldn't behave that way.
That's a fair assessment, in my opinion. Yeah, I get the gist of it.
I'm willing to admit that the ether might exist, but as Brian says, it's not within my grasp or reach to understand it. But then I'll say it that way, and I'll say, but I still believe it exists. Why can't they just do that?
Well, I would say that too if they would tell me what the hell it is.
No, it doesn't matter. If I say I believe the Creator made things visible and invisible, and I do ether in the invisible, well, if it's invisible, only the Creator knows what it is, but I believe it's there, but it can't go through the scientific method. I'm okay with that. I could even accept that.
If it's not claimed to be invisible tent, it's claimed to be non-manifest.
Yeah, and they're claiming that it's everything relies on this ether.
Again, as Brian said, it's not part of our world. So if you want to believe it exists and it's something the Creator did that falls in a different category, and this is the way you see things, there's nothing wrong with it. But when you go on the opposite and say, oh, you know what? My ether has to exist no matter what, so I'm going to destroy the scientific method. Science doesn't prove things. Now that's the problem.
Well, you see, this is the thing. I have no hassle with someone believing that the ether exists. But you can't start stating that things like magnetism are caused by something that you can't prove exists. It's just a belief. Can't do that. And you certainly can't state that the reason that we see a pendulum moving around is due to it. That's a physical cause, right? So you can't do that.
And
but what they did do is, just 1 second, just because that's the part I should have prefaced more when I was speaking, and I just left my mind. What they did is they went on the attack on scientific method. Because who wanted to attack scientific method? Who's behind this who wants to attack scientific method? Bob Nodell. He doesn't want scientific method. Scientific method disproves all the nonsense he wants to call science. He shows it up to be what it is. And that's which it at least he'll admit it's a spiritual belief. But Bob would state it's an opinion or a belief until he's on his own show, then he'll say it's absolute science and it's absolute proven and it causes all this, that, and everything. You know what I mean? It's like, why were they attacking a scientific method? Why do that? Why attack that particular thing? We all know the answer.
Well, the answer is simple. We've seen it happen already. Pseudosciences will always attack the scientific method after they use it to give themselves the legitimacy of the scientific method. And then they'll say their pseudoscience is science and force everyone to do something. So pseudoscience purveyors are the ones who use it. But in this case, their own camp says it proves things, and their own camp says it cannot prove things. The problem is in their camp. And all we said was that heat is the cause of water boiling. And instead of sticking on heat as the cause of water boiling, well, what kind of pot do you got? Is it dirty water? Is it oily water? Is it real water? Is it distilled water? What the heck are you talking about? It's heat.
It shows you they're disingenuous. That's number one. That's what I was saying, Brian. They're claiming ether, everything relies on this ether. Everything. It's the cause of everything.
If it's the cause of everything, you could say it's the cause of nothing as well.
Well, nothing can exist. That's ridiculous.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, if you, like with time, if you're saying time causes everything, then it's not really causing anything.
Yeah, I know. I was just doing an impersonation of Witsit.
I guess it's just a way to ignore cause and effect reasoning and how your actions have consequences and things like that, you know?
No, hold on a second. That kid stood on 24/7 flat earth debate, right? And he stood right there with chocolate, with Eli, and never, never, never did he say the things he's saying now. So you got to look at that. Disingenuous agenda.
Move on if everyone's done. I got 3 slides on master debater.
Wow, I thought we'd never see
Thank
slides
God.
again.
That's where you know shit is real. I'm saying, thank God Tef got slides. I'm so done with that crap.
Yeah, but it's true, Chalk. He was right there with you. You never heard him say anything like you're saying now. There's something going on, but let's see the slides.
Well, I posted them. I don't know if he's gone yet.
Pushing buttons,
Getting coffee.
playing video games.
Turning down.
I'm just good on liars.
Sorry,
Going on
what?
vacation for a
I
week.
don't like that shit. Like as
Turning
soon as
down
I
his-
realize you're just a liar, like you're like the piece of gum that I step over on the fucking street. Like I don't care anymore. So once you double down on that shit too, it's even doubly more that I just step over you. Like used gum on the street. Thanks.
I usually step in something much worse than gum on the street.
Oh,
Sorry to burst your bubble.
Are you referencing the Facebook post about us? Are you referencing the Facebook post about us being something that you don't want on your shoe, but once you get it on your shoe, it's a lot more trouble to take it off?
Yes, I was. I mean, we've all had that experience. Nathan, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
on vacation again.
Can you push a button and get to the slides in Master D?
Yeah, sure.
Well, so finally. Finally, we get the cause and the effect, the button.
Skype, right?
Time caused that to happen.
Master D. Yep.
Natural philosophy.
Yep. All right, here we go. Natural philosophy and astronomy. Okay. Written in 1800s. Next slide. Tables of refraction have been constructed and calculated partly from observation and partly from theory, by which the observer may at once obtain the average quantity of refraction at each altitude. And rules are given by which this average refraction may be corrected according to the peculiar state of the barometer, thermometer, and other indicators of the physical state of the air. Where's 7/6R?
R.
Uh-oh, Rog.
Gotta let my dog out.
Don't you need R first before you put it into an equation to change it?
Well, we're gonna keep reading. Average quantity at mean altitudes. While the refraction is nothing in the zenith, that means 90 degrees, somewhat greater than the apparent diameter of the sun or moon in the horizon, it does not amount to so much as 1 minute or the 30th part of this diameter at the mean altitude of 45 degree. So if you got a 45-degree angle with your sextant, it's just 1 minute. Effect on rising and setting. It means quantity in the horizon is 33 minutes, which is being a little more than the mean apparent diameters of the sun and moon. It follows that these objects at the moment of rising and setting are visible above the horizon, lower at the edge at their disk, just touching it, when in reality they are below it. Okay, there it comes. And the upper edge of the disk just touching it. Next slide. The moment of the rising of all the objects are therefore accelerated, and those setting retarded by refraction. The sun and the moon appear to rise before they have really risen and to set after they have really set. Again, perspective. And the same is true of all other objects. General effect of the barometer on refraction. Since the barometer rises with the increased weight and density of the air, its rise is attended by the augmentation and its fall by the decrease of refraction. It may be assumed that the refraction at any proposed altitude is increased or diminished by 1/300th part of the mean quantity for every 10th of an inch, by which the barometer exceeds or falls short of the height of 30 inches. Effect of the thermometer. As the increase of temperature causes a decrease of density, the effect of refraction is diminished by the elevation of the thermometer, the state of the barometer being the same. It may be assumed that the refraction at any proposed altitude is diminished or increased by the 420th part of its mean amount of each degree by which Fahrenheit thermometer exceeds or falls short of mean temperature 55 degrees. So what's going on here? What's going on here is you've got perspective and you've got the denseness at the lower altitude where the sea and air seem to touch because of perspective. And we know the sky and the sea don't actually touch. Like the clouds are still 10,000 feet above the sea there as they are where we are. And then they say that, you know, we don't have a science to this, but we know it's temperature and the barometer, and we have to make some calculations and guess. And then they have limits to where they want you to take sextant sightings from. And they say, whatever you do, don't go below these limits, because then you got to apply more math based on what? Calculations, air temperature, and barometer, not Earth curve. That's it.
Thanks, 10th.
What's Earth curve?
Geometric obstruction.
Nah, that's
So-
geometric obstruction. That's not Earth curving.
It's that stuff they put below sea level in their calculations.
Calculations. Shouldn't this, if this curve existed, wouldn't it have been measured? Or we can't do that.
It's been calculated. That means it's real.
Ah, that's what's up.
Right. And it's
I wish
calculated
life
below
worked
sea
like,
level.
let me go calculate the millions of dollars I got in my bank account so I can leave my job. Like, hold on.
Bro, go for it.
But you know, if you decided the value of money, you could probably do that. And where they're the authority on this, that's kind of what they did.
We live in a world where you could just identify yourself as something, right? So I identify myself as a self-made millionaire. Let me go tell my boss. I'll be back.
No, don't tell your boss. Tell the bank.
I identify as a millionaire.
Tell the bank, and whenever
It's my right. I demand that you address me properly because I identify as a millionaire. It's my trans right.
You got to tell the bank, and when the bank says that you're broke, when they look in your account, you call it a hate crime.
Exactly, you get it.
Facts.
The button.
I just got 3 words. Made in America.
Nothing. Anyway, the sextant measures elevation angles using the sea as what?
Baseline.
Baseline.
Correct. And that's not a calculation. That's a measurement.
So that's a fact then.
So much as a fact that they say we have a problem unless we take it down to the equatorial plane, because we can make that flat as a disk and we'll say it's emanating from there. So we get that same baseline that we want to fool people that we're getting from the arc of a sphere that we don't live on. So
That's
all
like
the
what they used to
nautical.
do with the orange, right? I remember when I was early in flat Earth debate. I mean, flat Earth, understanding. There was this video of how they cut an orange in half. Same thing.
Well, yeah, but the whole point is,
What? Orange? What?
Yeah, they cut an orange in half and put you on half, the half of that orange and showed you that this is how, the globe functions, locally flat type thing.
it's this.
What?
It's the two
I've never
hemispheres,
seen
Arwen.
that video.
No, if you
Hey,
cut
Arwen, it's the one
orange
where they
in-
peel the skin off the orange and then lay it flat, right?
I think it was something like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
the unfolding of the orange skin. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
No, there
Yeah.
was one directly where they cut an orange in half. Same thing. I think it was all part of the same video.
That's literally what they tell kids in their textbooks. So they appeal to your kiddie imagination when they do that as an adult. Somebody will cut an orange and lay it flat on the table and tell you, yeah, this is how it works.
well, I'd just like to say I think it's very typical that an orange would be used to basically explain globe machination.
Well, it definitely appeals to it.
Well, it's nautical because they use a navel orange.
Aren't you glad it's not an apple?
Well, they forgot the bucket over their head, so they had to go for some kid's orange out of his lunch bag.
That OJ got caught red-handed.
Oh,
Nah, that whole
Nice one.
this whole thing is the pits.
Yeah.
Well, in the Netherlands, we actually basically describe it as an orange apple. So it is an apple in Dutch.
You guys have deeper problems then.
Yes,
orange is an
also
apple?
orange is the color of our national pride somehow through sports and all that.
Well, we got Macintosh apples, but I can't get on the internet with it.
that's Jacob William Orange, Arwen, William Orange.
Yes, which has nothing to do with the actual royalty that's now taking up the throne here.
All of this falls under the heading pulp for fiction.
Oh, that's a good one. No, but my grandson told me that's what they teach them in school, that it may look flat, but it's actually curving the earth.
Do they also tell them that if you look out your window, what you'll see is nothing that looks like a ball? Everything looks flat. While they
actually-
simultaneously teach you how it's not that.
Can you
Isn't it
post-
great? Isn't that great?
Can you post that again, Chocolate? I was having a discussion with a guy the other day. I'd like to show him that, and I know you have
made
it,
it?
and I've saved it, but just post it again so I have it.
I'll post it for you.
He was
Give me a
actually
second.
saying that that the teacher said that this would happen, and there's certain ways that they answer questions when flat earthers bring it to them, like the horizon. And
How much more do you want to bet? Like if it's not now, it will become part of their curriculum. How they will have to now respond to students or other what do you call it, teachers or faculty. That how do you respond to flat earthers? How do you respond to this stuff? Right? Because it's gonna get worse for them. Because more and more kids are just gonna be like, nah, this is crap. What are you teaching us this crap for? What is this? I've already heard kids say it. So
if they bring out an
they'll
orange,
be into chocolate wrap note in no time.
if they bring
Yeah,
out an
yeah,
okay, if they bring out an orange as a teaching tool, I'm going to say no, it's false equivalence right there because the horizon is not over the Rhine.
no, what they're going to do is they're going to start with an orange, right? And then they're going to point out through the use of an orange how the earth can't be flat because it's shaped like an orange. And that's about all they're going to do. That's what they're going to do. This is an orange. This is shaped like the thing you live on. So it can't be flat because this isn't flat. That's what they got.
But go look out your window and you
Oranges
won't
aren't
see
a little
anything.
chubbier at the equator, so that's kind of difficult.
pear shaped. A
Are you saying it's
pear-shaped
not
orange.
orange shaped? It's something else.
It's a pear-shaped orange.
Well, I just
I've
like to
never
point
seen
out.
one of those. I mean, never. You know,
Little
even
chubby.
damaged
Little chubby.
oranges, they
Chubby,
always
just like
are
pear.
very round.
Oh,
Maybe
hold on.
slightly flattish, like yeah, but
Hold on. Can we get crazy bit? Can we get my boy Neil talking about how it's a little chubbier?
So
Pear-shaped?
Arwen, it's a little chubbier, huh?
Little chubbier. Little chubbier. Yeah. Chubby's a good way. It's like pear shaped.
Thanks, Neil.
Well, which one was it that told Nathan that we had to figure out the shape of Earth before we could measure the shape of Earth?
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember. I'm sorry.
We've been through a lot of numpties. I can't even remember that one.
Well, anyway, figure out and measure are the same. It's like synonyms. It was like, I have to put my pants on before I put my pants on.
It could have been Mr. Sensible.
But did you
or
figure out what
MC
pants?
you
Well,
saying
you could carry your pants in a different reference frame.
You can leave your pants and still be in your pants.
Well, you could throw them over your shoulder, and you know.
It's about leaving your pants without leaving it, right? You're just stepping outside of it without actually changing your position somehow.
Hey, Kiwi.
That has to be one of the funniest things someone's
I'm
ever
gonna have
said.
I'm gonna have to post that just for a throwback laugh, real quick. Hold on. And by the way, that's in Master D. It should be in there.
Okay, good. I was going to say, if they're going to go from orange to a pear, that argument will disappear real quickly.
It's a pear.
Oh,
Shocking.
Hey, you know, I heard that Nixon was impeached because his vision was impaired.
Wow, Neil, what are you, complex puns now?
That was a joke I made many years ago.
Yeah, but the ballers stop coming to the show because they don't grow a pear.
no, it's not appealing.
I can't believe you said that.
Well, it's a joke. Come on. You got to back up your arguments. Grow a pear. Come on the show.
Wait, did you say grow a pear?
Pear. It's a pun. My goodness. Why do you think people wear Fruit of the Loom underwear? Come on.
It's just because we were talking about pear-shaped Earth and all that. Just grow
I
a
just-
pear. Suddenly, it was
Really?
like,
I just want
Really?
to.
You just tied it together?
yeah.
QE is here now, so all this stuff is going to stop fairly soon because he's going to come in angry.
No, it's not.
Oh.
More puns, quick.
It is possible he had breakfast, so we don't know that
Nate,
yet.
no breakfast, no friggin' caffeine. My internet's been out for the past 3 hours. So
Bro.
I'm pretty happy about right now.
QE, you actually drink coffee on an empty stomach? No wonder
Negative.
you're so cranky.
Actually,
Negative. I didn't say that.
I have 4 cups of coffee a day on an empty
Negative.
stomach.
Negative. I didn't.
actually, most
Okay,
of Q.
good on you.
Actually, most
Avoid
of
it.
Q. Oh gosh. Actually, most of QE's arguments are paired up with ours.
I thought they didn't have them.
The audio is in Master D if somebody wants to do a little throwback laugh real quick.
Is that the leaving your pants without leaving your pants?
Yep.
Going on? Why is there a sudden pause?
We're waiting for you to
We're
play
waiting
the
on you to
play the clip.
play the what chocolate about in Master D.
Oh, okay.
I'll act like Neil. Pay attention, Neil. I mean, Nathan.
I could change pants and not leave them.
Who is this idiot?
You can change pants and not leave the pants that you're in?
Right, again.
The Blind Sniper, 4 November 2019.
I could change pants and not leave them.
Who is this idiot?
You can change pants and not leave the pants that you're in?
That is
Classic.
wonderful.
As I say,
I thought we'd have the part where he talks about putting them over his shoulder.
numpties, man,
Well,
they're everywhere.
You have two versions, the long and short of it.
Well, I'd just like to point out something just to keep things on track, right? Because we get maybe too carried away. Is that claim of an oblate spheroid is incorrect. Their globe has to be a perfect globe because they have what they call great circle roots, which have to adhere to the nautical to statute ratio of 1.1508. Both, and most of them are north to south. The only one they have that's east to west is the equator. And their equator has 21,600 nautical miles around within their maths. But so is the north to south. The polar circumference has to also be exactly that for their great circle routes to work. They have to be. Now, there's nobody travels the equator. That's a load of rubbish. There's no ships or planes following the equator line. That doesn't happen. But the point I'm making is that they have a claim of an oblate spheroid, but that would mess up their great circle routes. And it would also mess up their claims of their sightings to Polaris. Because you can't have an oblate spheroid and have their sightings to Polaris to match it.
Well, it's in the title. It's 90 degrees. No matter which four of those cutouts that you use, it's all 90 degrees. So how can it be oblate?
Exactly, you can't. Their whole globe is obviously, as we know, back engineered from flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris. So their whole globe is based on the two corresponding latitude lines being turned into a circle. And the two one latitude line is 10,800 nautical miles in length. Two of them corresponding end to end is 21,600 nautical miles in length. So it can't be an oblate spheroid. That's a complete load of rubbish. Their model can't be.
Bit chubby in the middle.
Yeah, bit chubby in the middle, which destroys all their model.
It is a three-dimensional spheroid. However, I don't know that, and it has not been proven. Science doesn't prove anything.
Oh, that's exactly what I was referencing earlier. Who else says that?
That was Mr. Weak Sauce. I mean, Vsauce.
Well, with Vsauce.
Maybe somebody should have, maybe the guy interviewing him should have asked him, so what's your channel? all this science stuff about this 3D spheroid, you just said that hasn't been proven. What's that about then?
Well, see, the thing is, the next breath out of his mouth will say science only disproves things, which is, in itself proving something. So he can't really get into that. It's best that if he just makes these ambiguous statements that are false.
Yeah,
Then they're getting hung up on
links back
details
nicely
and stuff,
to
right? We don't want to do that.
Well, it links back nicely
John,
to the
you've
whole
said it.
pants with
Sorry.
virus thing, doesn't it? Yeah, the whole thing's just done to throw you off kilter.
Kilter.
Yep.
You're picking on the Irish again. Scottish. You got something against the Scottish? John, you've said in the past they use proof to say nothing is proven. You want to say that again?
Yeah, it sounds like they're just skirting around the topic.
I was just thinking that, bro. What?
Why do you think they got a constellation called Orion's Belt?
I don't know.
I just want to give some clarity. Something Eli said yesterday, it kind of went under the radar, as I don't think people took notice of what he said, of the question he asked, but it was really, really good. He said, how could you have general relativity, which requires the mass to exist, to curve space-time, when you required gravitational accretion, which is an attractive force, to create the mass? How could you have both those things? When general relativity threw that out the window in 1915, how could you? Where did the mass come from? And
like saying,
general relativity only accounts for can't account for more than one mass. It only accounts for one mass.
It's sort of the same way how Einstein threw out the ether while utilizing the ether. Same thing.
Yeah, well, I call it Elijah's paradox because it is a very, very good paradox.
well, you can go on a diet and eat ice cream at the same time and claim you're on a diet.
I mean, it's right. It is a good question. I mean, it's like supposedly this ball formed because what little pieces of the matter that forms it up all came together because of gravity. Okay, so was the gravity just there? Is it just a force of gravity sitting in the middle of somewhere, and then all the pieces just start accruing together in that particular spot? What about, like, why would it do that? Especially if supposedly the sun was around before that. Well, why would these little pieces of rock not go into the sun? What is it doing over here? Literally going against what the sun's supposedly doing, right? Like, how does any of this make any sense in reality?
Hold on a sec. How are you going to introduce multiple masses into a singular mass equation?
Bro, that's a whole other shit fest.
Maybe the rocks are just going at a magic speed.
At a magic speed. I don't.
There is a magic
And how come only the gases and plasmas? How come only the gases went to where the sun is? How come nothing else went there? How come it's all only gases within the vacuum? How come they decided to all gather together and then the globe out and all these other things that aren't gases, with the exception of, is Jupiter a gas planet or some nonsense they say? Do you know what I mean? Why did that all separate up? And where do gases come from anyway?
When do gases clump together in the vacuum?
They don't. That's why. That's the point. Like, none of this happens. None of it is real.
I know. I'm just helping you out.
Or you just want a cool story?
How did the Earth acquire the moon? And was there like a divorce custody battle, and Earth got custody of the moon? Like, how do any planets have any moons, supposedly? How is that possible?
I think Nathan has the story of Thea that he can tell at that point.
Yeah, but it's the contrary to what you're making a point of. You're saying it works the opposite, right? It's moving towards entropy if you're asking how gases coalesce. Well, they don't. They're moving away from each other until they reach an equilibrium, if you will. But that's the opposite of coming together with gravitational accretion, which is where the Thea story is based, isn't it? It's the moon being debris from Earth, having another planet smash into us to give us a bigger molten iron core, and then gravitational accretion bringing the debris together to form the moon. But that's the opposite of entropy, isn't it? In fact, that's a second law of thermodynamics violation in and of itself. Just the whole story.
Oh, hold on. I see the problem. You're trying to work at the really is level, right?
Yeah.
So but I'm saying, how is any of that popping off when the sun has its own? The sun's gravity is supposedly so insane that it's maintaining all these other bodies around it. And it's even more insane that there are other bodies they call comets that could actually leave the solar system but come back 80 years later because this thing is so strong to go around the sun again. But you got a little rock like Mercury that's just sitting right there, and that's not going into the sun. Like, none of this makes sense, bro. This is the most ridiculous fairy tale I've ever.
You remember that? You remember that song title? You don't have to be a star to be in my show.
No.
Well, in Narnia, the inertial speed of the comet is greater than the inertial speed of Mercury, so that it can change its valence orbit in association with the sun in Narnia.
Yeah, it checks out in Narnia.
But now you don't necessarily need to work at the really is level in this case.
Good looking out, George.
Right. Just work in imagination. Then you can just let it all go.
Well, you can, but you shouldn't. I mean, you still need to keep an eye out for consistency and pattern systemicness.
Well, that's why you always, you have the different levels of gravity, right? It's not that it's it's not a what would you call that? A consistency in a story. It's more of a covering up bullshit.
Okay.
It's like changing the plot line later. Yeah, just change the plot line later. It's fine. You can change the model anytime. It's just the model.
No, it's a work in progress. Okay, the globe model is a work in progress. They're trying to figure out the signs in order to get that complete godly understanding. And that's how it works. You keep building. I mean, the globe religion is a religion of keep building.
Right, and
keep going, keep asserting the dictate, like wherever it's going, and build on that. Like find creative thinking that's compatible with like what's already around. It's like a work in progress. That's what the heliocentric model really is, what it is to people, more importantly.
Exactly, but it's a ball. Just as long as we all agree it's a ball, then we can go on.
Of course, it's a ball. I mean,
right.
A ball is like the universal shape.
No, it's an orange. Come on.
But they do really think that the ball is a universal shape, and it plays into atomism, right? The atomistic thinking. That's a real thing. And the ball religion does definitely embrace that. And anybody that goes into that direction.
Well, is it that like the models that have been created of the atom are embracing heliocentrism is not necessarily atomistic thinking?
No, it's its own field, but because of the ball-like visualized nature, it's perfectly convenient. Like this is exactly what they needed. So it's a naturally born alliance.
How does a ball moving 66,600 miles per hour orbit another ball that's moving at 500,000 miles per hour?
It's all relative.
How does that check out again?
It's all relative. Don't think about it too hard.
Michelle Thaler said the rocks are our cousins, Chocolate.
So the Earth is your cousin. Why are you trying to down your cousin, dude?
I'm just trying to find out how my cousin. Oh shit, my bad, bro.
very complicated rocks?
Well, thanks, Michelle.
I actually think of myself as a very complicated rock. I am made of things like iron, and copper, and manganese. When you sit down on a mountainside and you're there with a rock, those are your cousins too.
Never gets old.
I will never get tired of that.
Rocky Balboa, my cousin. Yeah.
But the Bible is crazy though.
Yeah. That's banana nut cake bread, but yeah.
Do you think she has conversations with the rocks?
He might
she's
just.
full of shit.
It's just a
She
family
might-
reunion, Pen.
No, look, a woman like that is going to be very lonely psychologically. So who knows? She might have a little animist in her.
So would it be taking it for granted that she might be bolder to be talking to rocks than most others?
Taking it for granted. Older.
Wow.
Complicated
Leave her alone,
puns out
Pen.
here, bro.
Triple
Stepping the
pun.
pun game up.
Well, you forgot about
She's just
taking her
having
good
a
faith.
family reunion. Be nice.
Oh God.
Did you take her good faith into question?
No, I was checking out her open toe sandals.
No, good. She's got two sisters, Sandy and Faith.
Thanks, Kiwi. As I was trying to finish that, like I had to spit out my coffee again because you said that shit.
Did you watch the last part?
I didn't finish all of it, but I still got like about a half hour left or so. But yeah, when I heard this one, I was like, God damn it! I can't listen to this drink stuff.
I'm waiting for my next road trip since it's over 3 hours. My dog is still recovering.
Yeah, I'm gonna call PETA on you. That's for damn sure. I told you that.
I did the mistake of taking a long drive to Idaho to move here, and I played the Jaren one and the Witsit one, and I didn't even finish by the time I got to Idaho. And my dog was crazy. I was crazy. I said, I can't do this anymore. This was nuts.
Why did you do that to yourself? I mean,
Why did you do that to your dog?
yeah,
I know. I didn't know the complications that would arrive from it, but it was like I'm yelling at my dashboard as it's being played. I'm like talking to the ether about the whole thing. Are you kidding me? You just said that came out of your mouth. I mean, it was like my dog just looking at me and say, "Who are you talking to?"
Well, you have to agree fundamentally, right, that lying is bad.
Thanks.
yeah, and these guys are going ballistic. Let's just.
Are they
keep it-
left yet?
Well, no commentary needed. You just play the clips. And if you just put the clips back to back and say to a normal person you run into the street, hey, I'm going to play something. I want your first reaction to it. Oh my, it'll be over right there.
You know how many times I've done that and I've played little audio clips or stuff like that with Globers for people, right? And I'll have people tell me, no, that's not somebody defending the globe. That's somebody you guys set up as like a counter to fake it. And I just looked at them like, are you being serious right now? So basically what you're telling me is what came out of this person's mouth is so stupid as a globe defender that you would rather think that this person is actually a fake flat earther pretending to be a glober. No. These globers have been saying this type of shit for 7 years since I've been in this profile.
Have you ever got
go.
Have you got the opposite response to the Jaren stuff and been like, there's no way that these are real flat earthers. They're globers in disguise trying to.
Nah, I haven't. I haven't put it on to anybody that, what heat doesn't cause water to boil. I haven't done that yet. So they could look at me like, Are you okay?
Please, let's pray to God that there's not a lot of people actually latching onto that shit. I mean, serious.
Latching on to what?
Onto that nonsense that water doesn't boil at 100 degrees. I mean, let's
Oh,
hope
no,
they're
no,
paying
no. This
attention.
is no. Chocolate didn't say that. Chocolate said that heat doesn't cause the water to boil. That was the first argument before Jaron took it to the other. It was like, what causes water to boil? Science proved it. It's heat.
Yeah, but even then, even if you include the degrees, that just makes it a factual statement.
Right, but whoever thought that Jaron would give us the actual citation and reference of a paper Adam read through, and it says exactly what we're saying at the vapor point is 100 degrees. Oops.
Well, you would say it like you would say the Globers. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Oopsie. Clowns. Are they gone yet?
No, I don't think they
He
realize.
just said it looser, Chewie. Come on.
He just said it looser.
You know what got me to laugh so hard in the car? I'm sorry, the truck trip here, pulling 14,000 pounds, was when you said the Hindenburg will blush. I lost it.
I think that wasn't that Jaron's?
Yeah, it was one of them. I can't remember. I'm
Yeah.
still recovering, taking medication for it.
Well, heat is just pressure mediation as a resultant of electricity.
Well, he's
Well, you
certainly
just-
getting the hang of this, like, Ken Wheeler type technique of talking, Whitsitt has talent. He has talking talent. He's just, he doesn't know what the fuck he's actually doing with it, but he's good at it, whatever he's doing with the talking talent.
The flashcards really help. When you get the flashcards down,
Yep.
you're just in control of everything with that nonsense.
Right, so he effectively is becoming like a puppet, right? So whatever the group is gonna forward to him, he's gonna go for it.
Chocolate. Did you see him rap that?
Nah. I didn't
Yeah,
see that.
it's towards the beginning. Where
Oh wait, I might have missed it then.
Yeah, you need to go towards the beginning.
What did he rap?
QE is just saying when he talks fast, it sounds like he's rapping.
Oh, with the hand motions and stuff.
Yeah, he did that. He did well with the hand. That was fucking strange to begin with through the whole thing, as you already know. But with the heat, he went to the heat is just the pressure mediation as a resultant of electricity. Watch him do that, man. I fucking died. Yeah. Check it out. It's in the beginning, man. I ain't gonna get you timestamp. Just go. It's right near the beginning.
If you
I
think
finished the end. Go back to the beginning now.
Go ahead and finish. Go ahead and finish it, and then go back to the beginning. It's worth going over about 5-6 times. You're gonna miss stuff.
I'm never going back.
I'm not going back.
Well, if you think that's stupid, you wait until I do phlogiston and review to disprove oxidation reactions. Y'all are gonna.
I can't
grow up.
wait.
Is that before or after you prove your kitchen floor is actually a sphere?
I've already proven that my kitchen floor is a sphere as to the standards of heliocentric rhetoric. So I expect a retraction on that.
How do your appliances chill on a spherical floor?
It's like in gravity. Oh, see, look, something already fell. It's not stable.
Damn gravity.
What if Nathan mirrors that on his channel? Where's Nathan at?
I'm in the next room just doing general chores. We've gone over like 3 hours, so what do you want?
What'd you want? Whenever you get, I know you haven't listened to the train wreck. What's it?
Keep it quick. I got a tap running.
Say again?
Keep it quick. I've got a tap running. Come on.
Get a tap running. I know you haven't watched What's This Train Wreck, but you're going to want to mirror it. Okay? Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay.
They had a video where he was making like coffee or something or a latte. I don't know what it was. It was like it looked mad complicated. I was like, why is it taking like 10 minutes to make coffee? It's crazy.
Oh, I went back. Somebody sent me a video. Was it Elijah? Elijah, are you here? I don't think he is.
Yeah,
I think Elijah's good.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, I checked that video. I was surprised because it was from the Irish Demon. That dude's dumber than a box of rocks, man. Where'd you get that at?
I just looked up Nathan versus what's it, and it came up.
Okay. It surprised me when he popped on. I'm like, who the hell is this potato eater?
You're gonna be corrected here, Kiwi. That's a box of cousins.
Yeah, that's messed up. Because you can't actually find the video from either of y'all's channels or whoever uploaded it from, but it immediately comes up with this dude.
Right, because you can't find. Well, you got to search through all the videos, right? Because Nathan only numbered them. Right.
I think he did a clip. Usually he kind of, I think he would have said something with Nathan Thompson's name in it. Well, anyway, to confirm that, I got to go look myself. At least we have the time frame because the other guy posted the video around the same time.
Right. So that was the thanks anyway. I didn't appreciate the Irish dipshit, but you know what I told him? I said, stick to color commentaries on Hot Pockets.
On another subject, Eli, did you see a post? I found that video. Remember that video with the sun we were talking about?
Man, I saved it 2 hours.
Oh, you did save it
from you from the future. That's how. As soon as I seen it, I was like, "Yo, I couldn't find this nowhere." Yo, how did he find it? I downloaded it.
I actually had it downloaded. I was going through all my videos and I got a lot of shit on my phone. I was like, "Oh shit, I saved it." I didn't even realize I did. So I was like, "Let me hook it up." Cool.
Adam.
Get stuffed.
All right, whatever. I seen him in here. Is he still in here? Yeah, I see him in there.
He's actually doing it at present, Huey.
He's tripping over himself, trying to get back to the mic or something in his shed. Probably tripped over a friggin' Van de Graaff generator.
Fucking QE, bro. I can't drink nothing when this dude's talking. Tripped over a Van de Graaff generator. Oh, look at this. Ding. What the fuck?
You realize that the claims they were making, if you look in some of the comments from when I was on What's It show there a couple of weeks ago, there was a couple of people making the claim that I misunderstand that the whole Earth is a whole Van de Graaff generator.
No, you didn't misunderstand that.
Yeah.
Richard said it very clearly. That, the entire, you just take the whole world as one. Yeah. I don't know why things aren't levitating, but I guess.
Chocolate. What is the Van de Graaff generator?
I mean, the device they created as a particle accelerator?
Yeah, and what's a particle?
What do they call those things again? Oh, molecules?
Are they atomists now?
I'm not trying to call nobody names, but hey, it is what it is, right?
I mean, it's not by coincidence. Adam is the emissary to show the atomist deniers.
I mean, I'll just take my car and run you over to show you how cars don't exist. That's cool, right? Is that not cool?
What particle of your card hit me?
Just a little piece.
All right. So what you guys talk about? Because I missed the whole show. I was up early too. Ready to get on the show. Boom. Power goes out. Then I said, oh, okay, waited 45 minutes. Power come back on. I said, all right, well, the internet's going to come back up any second. Hour and a half later.
We went through that paper that Adam researched that you're going to have him on for a full version.
You went, oh, you went over the water boiling.
Yeah, plenty of people were steamed about it.
But I'm sure it was
QE gonna
thrilling.
vaporize him on this one.
Say again?
I was gonna say something about vaporizing the ballers, but
No,
yeah.
It didn't get that bad. It has to reach a boiling point before that.
Yeah.
Man, I'll tell you, these ponds hitting flat earthers do fall flat.
Jeez, man.
So what else did you guys go over? Anything important? Any ballers come in?
No, they're gone. They're not coming back.
What's a baller?
None of these guys show
They're
up
the
anymore,
real ballers
QE.
now.
The Foucault pendulum went over that.
Went over to Foucault Pendulum. Boy, that's an oldie.
Yeah, Adam's got one in his shed.
Does he?
Sure, he's got everything in that shed. He's got all kinds of stuff.
Does it move in a figure eight?
Well, he's. We'll have to ask him.
Yeah.
No, we gotta ask Rumpus.
I couldn't believe when he said that. What do you say back to that?
You just laugh. What else do you do?
I was like, wait a second. Did you just say it goes in figure eight?
No, originally he said he doesn't know how a pendulum moves. Then he says it moves in a figure eight. Like, what kind of pendulums they got around your hood, bro? Like,
what was that?
I was thinking, was he thinking about the analema, the sun, or did he get confused, or did he mean it?
No, he meant it.
What was that in Billy Madison towards the end of the movie? The guy that was giving him the test, he said something along the lines of, "Nothing you have said made any coherent sense, and we are all dumber now for having heard it." I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something along those lines. Maybe that's what should have been responded with.
You want to hear a baller story?
Is it a dirge?
Yeah, I suppose it is. I don't know what a dirge is, but it sounds like that's what it would be.
He added, oh, sorry, Brian. He added, "I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul."
You ran back from the tap for that.
Come on, Brian.
Yeah, he ran back from the tap for that.
It's a funny movie, guys. It's worth running back from the tap for.
It's definitely a good line, useful for numpty idiots.
You know the way I have borders attacking me on pi, and I asked them, well, what's pi then? They give me pi, the exact pi, because what I asked them for in my as a pinned comment on my last presentation was to give me the mean radius of every circle ever. Because if you can give me the mean radius of every circle ever, then pi, whatever pi you're coming up with, has to match that. It has to. There's no way around it. Because the mean radius has to be a particular arc length, right? A particular arc length will be this straightened out, will be the mean radius of every circle ever. So kind of a trick question. And in fairness, some of them they try to answer it, but what they've done is they've tried to come back and attack me. But the problem with attacking me is this: they came back and attacked me and said I didn't have a clue what pi was, right? Ignoring the history of pi, which something Nathan tried to correct them on, but they didn't want to hear it. And started telling me I didn't know what pi was. So I asked them what pi is. And they gave me some kind of a random number, right? It could be 3.141 or 3.14, whatever. But they said it's definitely not 3.139, blah, 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 right? This is what they said. And yes, I can make it to be 3.139, blah, 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 by having a particular size, by having a particular size mean radius. If you can mess with the radius and the diameter, to mess with pi, right? But there's a certain things you have to work within, right? Let's just say. Now, this is where things get ridiculous. I asked them for give me pi, right? Because they're attacking me saying I don't know it. And they give me pi. And I say, but I thought pi, right? So I got a pi off this guy, and he told me that there's 62.8 trillion digits after the decimal point, right? I said, well, that's funny because other people are stating that it's infinite, the amount of digits past the decimal point, that nobody knows what pi is. And he came back to me and said, yeah, there's 62.8 trillion calculated digits, but it's infinite. And I said, that's a contradiction. He said, no. And argued with me that it wasn't a contradiction. He hadn't contradicted himself. For a start, he couldn't give me pi because nobody seems to know it, number one. Number two, he told me there's 62.8 digits after the decimal point, but then also agreed that it's infinite. Is 62.8 trillion infinite, or is it just a lot? Because it sounds like just a lot to me. So if I said to you, there's 62.8 trillion, and you said to me, I thought it was infinite, and I go, yeah, it is infinite, but it's also 62.8 trillion. Would I be contradicting myself? Because that's what I'm dealing with recently.
Well, yeah, they're just mathematically illiterate, though. Like, pi is just a ratio of the circle, right? So there's no defined, like, you can't get a perfect circle. You can't reach the full pi number. That's impossible.
Well, the thing about pi is that, like the radius, the diameter, and the circumference, and everything connected to a circle, it all comes back to number 9. And I've said to some of these people, now some of the borders have actually listened to me, and they've gone and looked into it a bit. It goes back to, if you look at what Pythagoras, and he knew how important the number 9 was. Not just within numerology, but not just in that, within the geometry of a circle. The number 9, everything to do with a circle goes back to the number 9. And the closest, if you know, like, if you find the mean radius, you make sure that mean radius is correct and it corresponds to the number 9, then you're on the path to finding the correct perfect pi. Unless you're doing that, you'll never get perfect pi. And the people who are arguing with me are basically denying Pythagoras, someone who in history went down in history as being one of the greatest mathematicians ever. You know, he had a following, a cult that turned up after his time. I mean, what more do you want? It's Pythagoras. They're literally going against Pythagoras.
How do you spell Pythagoras?
Pythagoras, I think.
Shouldn't it be PI now?
Pythagoras, yeah. But how can you go against Pythagoras on this issue? How can you go against Pythagoras on this issue? Just to go against me, they're going against Pythagoras. It's Pythagoras.
I could answer that. I could answer that.
Once it doesn't have a pun in it.
It's circular reasoning.
What is the statement you're making that they're going against exactly?
They're attacking me on two things. They're saying my point was wrong, and they're trying to state, like, not all of them, but the ones who have been arguing with me and have not conceded that number 9 is not important to a circle and not important to pi. It's like they are people who really do not understand the dynamics of the circle, and they're basically. Pythagoras would not argue with me. He'd be in 100% agreement with me. But these people, not all of them, but some of them, are arguing with me. And they're literally arguing, not that I am Pythagoras, but they're arguing with somebody who Pythagoras would agree with. It's like going against Einstein when it comes to general relativity. Why would you do that? You can't do that.
How does the number 9 relate to a circle? I don't see how those connect.
Every part of the circle is connected to 9, right? You have 90 degrees, 270, 180, 360, 21,600 minutes, 1,296,000, I think it is, 1,000 seconds. Everything to do with a circle, for it to be a perfect circle, always has to come back to 9. If there's 21,600 minutes of degree in a circle, right? If you're using any number that adds up to 9, then every other number connected to that you calculate in any way has to come back to 9 as well. That's just literally a mathematical law. So everything has to come back to 9.
What if you have a 1-inch radius?
A 1-inch radius, but your 1-inch radius, you're missing the point. The radius, does that circle have 21,600 minutes of degree?
Well, that's arbitrary. You can.
Yeah, but that's no, because I'm missing the point.
That's right. That's like saying that there's 16 subdivisions of an inch. Therefore, the number 16 is significant.
No. Will that circle? Can you? All right, I'll make it simpler. Can you find me a circle that doesn't have 21,600 minutes of degree in its circumference?
Well, it's the arbitrary placement of the degrees. That's like, can you find me an inch that doesn't have 16 subdivisions?
Inch is a different thing.
But it's the same argument.
No, it's not. It's not the same thing. 16 and 9 are not the same thing. 9 has a... Look, you don't have to agree with me, but go off and check it out.
No, what he's saying, okay, so the Babylonians gave 360 degrees for a circle. We're still keeping to that. So everything's got to keep to that unless you change that convention. So in keeping with that convention is what Brian is saying.
Well, the thing about it is you can't give the circle anything else. What else can you do? How can you have a circle without it being 360 degrees, without it having 21,600 minutes of degree? How can you have a circle that doesn't have that?
If the Babylonians had a different convention, they would have. But that's the one they had, and that's the one we all agreed to, and that's the convention.
Yeah, but there's a reason why that. There's a reason why that. It comes back to the number 9. It's to do what a circle is. It's all, every part of a circle connects to the number 9. Every single part.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying whether they used 9 and how they got 9 and how the 360, it is what it is. It is the convention we're using. So what John is saying is, well, if you change the convention, then it won't work. Yeah, but who's changing the convention?
Yeah, but see, yeah, but John is taking it to a different thing. I'm talking about a circle. I'm not talking about something that's an inch long. I'm talking about or an inch. I'm talking about a circle.
Well, all circles are circles.
Yeah, all circles
not
are
all
circles.
360 degrees. That's what I'm saying too.
Yeah, but see, this is the thing. But my point being, and I think it's been lost, is that if you have, let's say, a circle is 360 degrees, there's 21,600 minutes of degree within those 360 degrees, and there's 1,296,000 seconds of degree within those 21,600 minutes of degree. All those numbers always add up to 9. So you can't have 360 degrees within the circle and have some other number connected to that circle that doesn't add up to number 9. That means it's wrong. You can't. Everything must come back to 9. If you start with 9, it has to come back to 9. That's
unless you use it. I ain't saying that the people that invented the convention didn't have some weird worship of the number 9 or something. That's entirely possible. But the convention itself is just a convention.
Well, to give some history on it, there is 2 versions of numerology. There is the, I'm after forgetting the name now. It's just going out of my head right now. But there's an older version, and then there's the Pythagorean version from Pythagoras. The difference between the two is the Chaldean. The difference between the two is the older Chaldean wouldn't add number 9. They wouldn't put 9 in. So everything was 1 to 8. They didn't put 9 in because they saw 9 as such an important number that you can't add it in. Pythagoras changed it and added 9 in.
So circles didn't exist prior to Pythagoras?
No. That's, I'm talking about no. It's still no. I'm not going to go into all the history of numerology now. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the importance. Pythagoras added in 9 because of its importance. They wouldn't add in 9 because of its importance, numerologically. 9 is a unique number, completely unique.
Well, aren't all numbers unique, though?
Not like 9 or not.
Like 1 isn't 2, and 2 isn't 3, and 3 isn't 4. I don't know.
Yeah, but you know what? I add up all the numbers before 9, and I come to 9. There's all these different, and I like I don't know if I've only scratched the surface of it, but there's all these different things that always, like, I'm constantly seeing them. They always come back to 9, 9, 9, 9. Everything keeps coming back to 9. It's the most important number ever of all numbers. Nothing is more important than 9.
They add up to 45.
Yeah. Which adds 2.
That you don't add 45. It's just 45.
No, you do. You keep adding when it's numerology. The whole point of it is you keep adding. You get down to it, you add it as far as you can add it. And you get down to 9.
9 is the highest number. 9 is the highest, well, symbol there is for a number. It's like, right?
Yeah, but in numerology, you can add to 11. You can't add to 22, and you can't add to 33. So 9 is the highest single-digit number. Look, the problem is, right, with something like numerology, is that it's been put on the back shelf with a load of other nonsense and being demonized as having no relevance, right? And I understand that up to a point, because there's a lot of other things that's in that box that don't have enough relevance in reality. But numerology, put it this way, I can guarantee you the Freemasons, who aren't nobodies, certainly don't view numerology as irrelevant. So the Babylonians didn't, the Chinese, there's a lot of these cultures throughout the world, throughout history, who certainly didn't view numbers as irrelevant, and things and numerology and derivatives of numerology as irrelevant. The only people that seem to think it's irrelevant are the people in today's world. You know what's funny? Think about the ballers who laugh at the Vatican and laugh at the Catholic Church and laugh at religions and all this other stuff. Now, I'm not a supporter of the Catholic Church or Vatican or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. But then it's pointed out to them that the whole basis of their present religion came from the Vatican. The Big Bang coming from the colloquial theory coming from George's Lemaitre, Jesuit priest. So be careful what you're laughing at, because you might be wrong to laugh at it, like the ballers.
Told somebody that and they refused to believe me. I was like, your whole Big Bang thing came from a priest, right? He was like, nah, stop playing. I was just like, all right, well, go check it out. He's like, damn, every time you say that and I go check it out, it's never wrong. Shit.
Yeah, he knew it was right there.
Yeah. So I tell him, why would I make it up? Why would I make up things you could easily look up right now in 2 seconds? Like, why would I do that? You know what I'm saying? It's not my fault. You laugh at a particular thing, and then when that thing incorporates your world paradigm, then it's a problem. Like, whose problem is that? Definitely not mine.
I think the story of the meter is interesting because they back calculated what a meter was from the calculation of the speed of light, which was never measured, but then they back calculate to get to the meter. As it's just like mind bending, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they have an actual real world measurement that's based on a not real world measurement. Yeah, the thing they didn't measure, they have a measurement from. It's what?
Yeah,
you can really measure a meter. Yeah,
it's nuts. Like, you have meters exist, you can measure with the meter, but the method that they come up with to get the meter is completely bogus.
What's the exact length of a meter in feet and inches?
I think it's 2.2 feet. Hold on, I ain't really sure. It's something like that.
I thought it was 3.3 something, or 3.3, 3'3", something like that.
No, I think a yard is slightly bigger. Let me go look. I'll have to look now. Damn it.
I think a yard is 3 foot exactly, and I think a meter is slightly bigger than a yard. I think that's what it is.
You're right. 1 meter is 3.2808399 feet.
Sorry, say that again, Sean. It was 1 meter, 3 point.
1 meter is 3.2808399 feet. And a meter is calculated from a dilution. So have fun with that.
This is very similar to nautical miles and statute miles.
Are you waiting on somebody to say how so? Because how so?
Well, that was a cue for Brian because he made a good argument how they take 360 degrees. Each degree can't. Yeah, thank you. I'm getting coffee. And then said that never changes. And all they did was match it to the statute miles so that distances could be used appropriately. So now you're talking about this subject, and where did they get that? And again, they have to match it somehow to reality. In the previous case, what the stars tell us with an elevation angle and the zenith distance, it's got to match to reality there. So they're doing other stuff in other areas in the same manner to match to reality.
It has to match reality? Whoa, hold on a second. We're talking about heliocentrism.
Oh, but elevation angles to Polaris is how they got the equator where it's at 0, and Polaris at the top of their globe, 90, or you can do it the other way. But either way, it's 0 one end and 90 at the other. And that's based on the elevation angles to Polaris. So then they go do the nautical miles, and they say, well, we've got to match statute miles, so we'll do 1.15 whatever statute miles to every nautical miles, and it'll match the back working.
Yeah, it's the back working when you completely ignore the measurement you took to begin with.
Yeah, but no, that's what I'm saying. So what you guys are talking about, they want to completely ignore what it is standalone by itself, and then add something to it and say, here it is.
Oh, penny drop. Got you.
It's kind of like refraction is about the air and temperature, barometer, all that stuff. And the ballers say, we're going to say refraction, but it means 7/6R. So they get it to mean something else.
Yeah, and they call it standard refraction. You know what I mean? The word standard being used before the word refraction gives the impression that this is the standard. This is like the norm. This is just everyday refraction, when it's not refraction at all. It's a physical change in the size of the globe.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not refraction. There's no refraction. It's a physical change in the size of the physical Earth, not refraction of light. It's such a hoodwink.
Yeah, but they do that on every specific vital point. They switch it. Everything is switched. The sun goes around the earth. No, we go around the sun. Just go down the line. It's all satanic. It's all lies.
Well, the globe model has to be basically the absolute opposite from reality. That's the only way it could work. So everything in it has to be the opposite.
Precisely.
Everything is the opposite. Yeah.
Well, that would make sense since, all this stuff's happening below sea level in the Earth curve calculator.
Yeah.
See, even I don't have the time yet, but I brought it up. The projected geometry that they talk about connected to celestial navigation, the sensible horizon, and the equatorial horizon. They meet at infinity. Parallel lines meet at infinity. That's what they say. Now they'll go on and say, well, they actually don't. So now they're caving into perspective, which they don't want to in our dialogues with them. So when I have time, I'll look into it, but it's out there for anyone who wants to jump the gun and look into it. But basically, the horizontal at your eye line, and sea level being another horizontal, and the rational horizon, the equatorial plane. Well, guess what? They all meet at infinity. Well, what's that when they actually don't? Well, that's called perspective. Well, we can't have perspective because that will explain why ships disappear and other things. So we can't go there. But then if you go read about it, they actually say it does.
Oh my goodness! When you talked about those three horizons combining, I thought of Captain Planet.
Who's Captain Planet? I haven't heard.
It's an old cartoon from like the early '90s, late '80s, and there was these kids that had these rings. It would, they would say, "With our powers combined," or they said, "With your all's powers combined, we're Captain Planet." It's like, with your all's horizons combined, we are the Earth.
Yeah.
Well, see, the thing about it is the fact that they're literally stating that these parallels will always only appear to meet at infinity. There are two problems. Number one, but not a problem for us, but for the globe model. Number one, they're talking about perspective, something that doesn't exist in orthographic view, or all the maps for the globe Earth are all orthographic. There is no perspective. It's a hijacking of perspective. That straight away debunks the Earth being a globe. If angular size change exists, it can't be a globe. It's literally that simple. It's that simple, but it's so simple people can't. It's too simple for people to latch onto. But the second part is that
I was just going to say, I just want to say real quick, because even in orthographic view, it's got to be a flat plane. So, like, they don't even have that.
Well, they certainly can't show you perspective in orthographic view because it's the complete opposite from perspective. You know what I mean? As I've said to people who've argued with me, I said, could you show me where I could buy a pair of orthographic binoculars? You know what I mean? You can't get them. They don't exist. You know what I mean? So you look.
But John's right there because they have the tangent plane and they have the rational horizon at the equator line, the equatorial plane, and then you need a flat plane.
Even in the Earth curve calculator, you have surface level and eye level.
Correct.
So even in orthographic view, they don't have a sphere. Like they absolutely don't have anything as far as I can tell.
Well, no, but they can portray a circle in orthographic view. That's the thing. You see, they have a 2D circle.
That's the dingleberry. It's a circle, but they call it dingleberry. What was your second point, Brian?
Yeah, but the second point is that then if the parallel eye line of the person standing on the boat and the parallel horizontal sea level underneath the boat appear to meet at infinity, then that means that the boat, once the boat sails away from someone standing there, then that boat will also disappear due to this same perspective.
Exactly.
I mean, that's absolutely devastating for our opposition.
On land, the railroad tracks converging when they don't, telephone lines converging when they're the same height on the road, a long road. It's the same thing. So if you go there, you converge, you disappear. It's the same. It's perspective.
Well, the anti-flat earther, when he hears that, he may think he has proof for infinite over R refraction then.
Well, you got to have R first.
Well, isn't infinite over R just a straight line?
Well, in that case, you don't have R.
Right.
Yeah, infinite over R would be the most horizontal globe ever.
That's a tangent plane.
Yeah, it'd just be a straight line. Yeah, it's just a straight line.
It'd have to be infinite. Yeah, that's it. Because that you would. I don't think you could go into concave. Could you? Would it put you on the inside of a circle? Infinite overall?
No, I think you'd have to, like, instead of multiplying by r, you'd have to divide by r to do that.
Well, isn't the whole reason to say that is that's why it looks so flat? So it's got to look flat infinitely?
Well, it does look flat wherever you go. So they did get that part right.
Well, boys, I got to go.
Me too. I was just going to say I got to go.
It's a good chat, though.
Talk to you later.
All right.
Is the show still running?
Who knows?
I didn't hear an outro.
I didn't either, but
Now it's the John show. I'm taking this place over. I don't really have anything to say either. So what are you going to do about it?
I'm still in here. You can't take it over.
Damn you, Neil. You thwarted my plot. Damn you.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Was you trying to speak before?
Yeah.
We're going in and out of reception.
I was just
What was
saying
you-
we're getting some overcompensation for last week. Extra space.
Yeah, you got to fill in the empty time, like there's got to be something.
We're crushing it. I mean, I'm listening all the way here, and it's awesome. I love this. This is FED, guys. This is what we're doing.
Excuse me. I only have 2 words. Made in America.
Just 2. Just 2.
Now, this is intercontinental.
If you don't know where that's coming from, that's the president of my country. The brilliant man that he is.
Oh my God.
It kind of gives me like the like Ricky Bobby-esque, if you ain't first, you last kind of mindset.
Did he really say that?
Yeah, like a few days ago. He said at some speech, he said, I only have 2 words. Made in America.
And like, what did everybody do? Did they just
Make
like
jokes.
sit there and
Everybody
start
saying they got 2, 3 words and miscounting it because it's hilarious.
Well, you realize that his staff probably had to come out later and tell everyone that you don't count articles as words now. Like A, B, they don't count as words anymore.
It
So
just sounds to me
it's
like more. It just sounds to me like more maneuvering from political angles to take credit where they definitely do not deserve the credit.
Chuck, I think what
You mean lying their face off? Is that the nice way of saying lying their face off?
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
they're doing.
what he,
pretty much.
what he wanted to say was America first.
Well, made in America,
Nah.
because China is in Ohio, I believe, as we all know. That's everything in
China
I've
and
seen.
Ohio.
Yeah, China, Ohio. Yeah, it's got to be real because it's all made in America, right?
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Bro, if you ever want to have a laugh, just watch a compilation of his gaffes, man. Like I've never laughed any more than with this guy.
I could see people from other countries doing that, but like this dude's supposed to be our leader. I don't.
Bro,
That's
watch
depressing,
this guy.
man.
The Australians are nuts, bro. They'll have compilations of this guy. They'll sit there and make jokes. I love what is it, Sky News? Oh my God. They are great, bro. The rest of the world's just laughing at us over here. Like, bro, this guy's really your president? And it's a toss-up of who's worse, him or Kamala.
Well, and that's sad though, because like making fun of him he's like a demented old dude that's he's got something wrong with him. Why I just don't like making fun of him. I mean,
We're being laughed at by other countries. America is a laughing stock right now.
well, yeah, but still,
Yeah,
making fun
but
of
you
him.
know, and while I understand what you're saying, right? Like it would mean more if I didn't think the guy was a piece of shit, whether he was old or young. I just think he's a piece of shit. So I don't care about laughing at him. But I understand what you mean because sometimes you gotta feel like, wow, this is like elder abuse or something, right? But the problem is that the people who put him in place knew he was fucked up, knew he was unable to do the job that he's supposed to be doing, and they put him in there anyway. So what can you do at this point? This guy is supposedly the guy with the nuclear codes, quote unquote. This is the guy running shit.
No, but they have the agenda.
Hold on a
The
hold on a
agenda is
second.
for us to be. Hold on, wait. The agenda is. I didn't think he's gonna last this long.
Look here. This is it. If he can do it, anybody can do it. You know how many mentally challenged people that are out there that don't think they can like make it as president? All they have to do is look at Biden and get hope. Like, why would you want to take that from them?
Because that's just
You're
too
an idiot.
pathetic, dude. That's just too low a bar, man. I mean, come on.
That was funny, Neil. That was funny. You ruined it.
It was. I had to get back to my viewpoint, but yeah, I don't want to ruin it for, the lesser cognitively aware people. But I mean, when the president of the United States can't count 3 words, I mean, it's bad. But according to him, I'm not even black, so I don't even have to worry about anything else because I didn't vote for him. So appreciate him telling me what I am depending on what I vote on. It's great. Is the show still on? We're still here.
Yeah, it seems so. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Hey, listen. Biden.
I agree. Next
Biden
Tuesday
is the
sometime.
inspiration of everyone 100 and older.
Well, he did say he's been in politics for like 130 years or some shit, 180. I don't know. Some ridiculous
Always
number.
consider anything here.
All I want to say is his butt got wiped.
What? Wait,
I said always consider Nathan's here or recording.
I only asked because we started getting into a little politics. We don't do that. Although I can say it, make fun of Joe Biden. I don't want to. Come on, man.
I got 2 words for y'all. Made in America. Come on, man.
What if all of this is just a show, right? Like Jar Jar Binks, like he's playing the fool, but it's only to play you because,
He's
like,
really the emperor of the force, we know.
yes. So maybe Biden's playing that 4D or 5D chess on the 4D chess that Trump was playing on the 3D press, man. Come on, man.
20D chess. You can do it.
You can't ride a bike or walk upstairs, but 5D chess, yeah. You got that.
Do you know he can't do that, or does he portray to you that he can't do that?
He's just a really good actor. He's really
it's
good
his
at acting
reptilian
meant
twin.
to show weakness in order to provoke the opponent's move, right? He's not really demented. I mean, he's just acting like that because that's the agenda.
Arwen's on to it,
He didn't
man.
really shit himself, right? He only made believe he shit himself.
President Bush puked on a dude from Japan. And
Come on, man.
You think he wears those diapers, those like Depends, since that incident? Because he does seem a little bulky around the thigh and ass area.
Look, I only have one word.
Ooh.
you ain't nothing but a no-account dog pony soldier.
Put y'all back in chain.
I'm sorry to do. I'm sorry to do this. What? You go.
Wait, how does the George Bush one go? To fool me once? How's that one go?
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you can't fool me again.
Yep.
Where's everybody gone?
We're all here.
QE's gone.
Just fooling around. And Neil made me totally make me lose my train of thought. So thanks, but that's okay.
When?
You know, there's more room. God has a plenty.
Okay. With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Gilded and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, hitting the thanks button, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Bye.